Hi. Hello. Welcome. Welcome back to Monday. I don't have comments on that. It's Monday, man. I don't know what to I don't know what to tell you. What's up? It's been a while. I haven't been here for about a week. What's up? My arm's doing better, for anybody asking. Thank you. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. But this is stupid. This is very, 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 very fucking dumb. I was scrolling through a little bedhead. Yeah, no, you're right. So I was scrolling through, looking at what video we might cover today, and I'm like, so he made a playlist titled Weeb Wars, but then in 2022, like, look at how many videos he made. There's 68 videos that he made, as like compared to, this is Reiketa Law, by the way. Welcome back to covering what happened with Vic Mignogna and his like internet floozies, I guess. And we're talking about Reiketa Law, and we're on like looking at like his latest video about Vic Mignogna, but the Weeb Wars one stops 2 years ago, but there's like a gap. Right, so he made a different playlist, but it has some of the same videos on it, and it's only 14. But it's also got this one from 2 years ago, so it looks like this, like, the big finale video is like this from 2 years ago, and it's 4 hours long. Good God. Which, I mean, I guess it makes sense, like, if you're trying to do, like, a big live coverage of, like, all of the things, you know what I mean? Like Vic Mignogna case, how it started and where it leads 2020, right? 4 years ago. And like he has an interview with Vic Mignogna from 3 years ago. And I think I want to watch the interview first instead of this one, because this one's from, wait, this is the wrong one. Wait, hold on. Decision finally, and this one, here we go, from 2 years ago. So, but I don't know if I really want to listen to Vic talk. Maybe we save that one to just, maybe we save that one. Let's start with this one. We'll see how far we get through this, because we're gonna be skipping portions. Hold on. Wait a minute. This looks like shit. Hold up. I don't really care about side chat very much. So, let me just quickly make this less ugly on my own screen, because I'm a stickler for no real reason. Oh, that's too big. Oh man, ugly. All right, well, whatever. Good enough. Can bring this up a little bit. There we go. Sweet, that'll work. Man. Last I remember at the beginning of this year, he said, "Oh, I heard it finished and haven't kept up with it. I just don't even know what's happening." LOL, just response of a commentator offhand, from a commentator offhand, or commenter offhandedly. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's kind of what I'm expecting. But the fact that this whole group made like hundreds of videos, because this, we didn't even look at any like the other side people. These are just kind of like the biggest well-known names talking about this at the time. But the fact that none of these people have really done a video that I guess this is the big culmination video from 4 years ago. 2 years ago, sorry. 2 years ago. Let's see what this says. We'll see. I'm not thinking it's going to be too impressive. Cuz if this has anything but, well, we were wrong, Vic lost his case, like, I see no other way out of this. What the hell is this shit?
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lost-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Reiketa of Reiketa Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. And I hate to ask, but how are y'all doing tonight? I'm doing terrible.
I mean, that sounds honest at the very least. How is everybody doing, by the way? I hope you guys had a good weekend, and a good last week while I wasn't here. No surprise that Nick's not doing well.
Absolutely terrible, but you know, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So, just to get this right out in the start, this is a sad show for me. This is the show. The Vic Mignogna decision finally came back, and after a long time of waiting, we've got very depressing news. Very, very depressing news. Now, we're going to go through I don't know if we're going to read all of it. This is a decent chunk of pages, like 70 pages. A lot of that is quotes that are probably not necessary, though. There's some big block quotes and stuff like that. But we are going to go through the most important parts of the appeal decision and talk about what went wrong with the case in general and why the appeal was upheld in favor of the people who defamed Vic Mignogna.
Yeah, it was almost decent. It was almost like great. He was starting to try to land gracefully and then onto his face. If he hadn't have thrown in the people who defamed Vic Mignogna, he probably would have been fine. I would have been like, you know what? At least he's not a sore loser. But no. Nick Reiketa is a sore fucking loser. So so close. Can I turn it up for Nick? Yeah. I can do that.
And let's be very clear about something. They did absolutely defame Vic Mignogna. And this case still has not been heard on its merits and, well, now, of course, never will be. It will never be heard.
Oh, he was so close. He was so close. All he had to do was not add in the extra little fucking shitters. You know what I mean? Like, this case will never be properly heard. Yeah, well, whose fault is that? Is it you and your lawyers? Like, what do you want from people? What do you want from people? I'm serious. Like, what is anybody supposed to do for you? Like, come on, dude. Come on, give me a break. You can't do this to me.
On the merits of the case, and part of that is it's due to a couple factors that are cited specifically by the court. One of them is sort of I don't know how to word this. I wouldn't call it strategy, but some of the, I guess, infield decisions made by Vic's counsel, and some of it go right back to the words of Vic Mignogna himself.
Vic's counsel, you mean Ty Beard, your friend? Are you distancing yourself on purpose? Like, it doesn't surprise me, or wouldn't surprise me to hear that, like, Vic Mignogna and Nick Reiketa, like, parted ways once Vic had lost his cases and there was nothing else he could do about it. Because, like, why would, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can understand drifting apart after that. Like, they don't really have much to do with each other. But it's now mandatory to play this when Nick loses. Okay, hold on, what is this?
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
You know what? I'm the one who clicked the link. It's on me. I should have known. Oh, is this when he had swapped out lawyers? That's fair.
These things are cited directly by the court in the documents. We, of course, will talk about that. We will face what the court has to say. And that's the way it goes. You do not, unfortunately, always get to win. And
winning once might have sufficed. Vic Mignogna and Tybeard and that umbrella guy and Yellow Flash and Nick Reiketa throughout this entire year's worth of like shit going on. As you now see, this is 2 years later. You will notice that Yellow Flash doesn't have a video from 2 years ago about this from what I've looked at. That umbrella guy doesn't have one. Nick Reiketa is the only one who has one. They've been doing nothing but losing the entire time. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll keep up with it and let you know what happens. Nope.
And I know no one wants to hear this. And I will say it again, because I said it a long time ago, and I said it all throughout this wait. People need to expect. They need to temper their expectations and deal with the reality that most appeals do not result in overturning the decision.
That's not what he said and they were saying last time we were here. Last time they were here, they were like, we're just gonna appeal it, it's gonna be super easy, it makes total sense for it to be appealed, in fact, it's likely gonna get appealed. And then everyone and their mother said, appeals are not easy, and very rarely do appeals overturn a court's decision. And here's Nick Reiketa, after getting his ass beat, is like, well, you know, here's an excuse. What was that? Coping and seething? What was that? What was that? I don't know. Also, yeah, I changed his font to Comic Sans just because it seems appropriate.
And that was the most likely outcome. And I fucking hate it, but it's true. It was always true. I got my hopes up at times because of how long it was taking, because of some of the other decisions that had come out in regards to TCPAs in Texas. But
oh, you mean you got cocky because the court took a long period of time and thought that the court taking its time making a decision about something meant it was more likely to go in your favor? I haven't seen anybody doing that recently. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fortunately, the statistics held up. The reality of the situation held up to what I initially said. And the victory is not there for Vic Mignogna.
So you lied to people. This is your weird way of admitting that you lied to people. Because you got excited. Okay.
It really is. It's really, really frustrating. And I will also note that probably the largest reason, well, I shouldn't say it this way. Let me say, I'll say what I was going to say so you know, but then I'm going to rephrase it and make it a little more clear. I was going to say probably the biggest reason Vic didn't get his case overturned on appeal has to do with the rejection of the second amended petition. But that might not be accurate. So let me rephrase that with a little more clarity. The big part of the reason that Vic's appeal analysis by the Second Court of Appeals ended where it ended was because they were not able to get the second amended petition into the record as evidence.
Hi, Puck. And why? What was the problem? Why couldn't they get that in?
I'm not a huge fan of how the court came to their conclusions on the second amended petition, but they seem to be legally sound-ish. And
Yes, I was wrong, but you know, maybe the court's making decisions that aren't legally sound. What? What do you mean? I know it's like he doesn't understand what an appeal is. This guy presenting himself as a professional lawyer on the internet doesn't understand how appeals work, doesn't know what tortious interference is, doesn't get actual malice wrong in defamation. Like, either he's an idiot or he's lying to you. Take your pick. He's just licking my hand. Hi. Hello. Are my hands good? Hi, yes, I love you too. You're very cute, Puck.
And at the end of the day, there's not really much you can do about it. Would the admission of the second amended petition have made Vic win his appeal? I don't know, but it would have gotten further than it did. We never know what.
Well, duh. If they accepted the thing, it would have, quote unquote, would have gotten further mean. Like, the court would have looked at it longer. Like, that doesn't really mean you're getting anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, anybody can file an appeal, right? Like, it's not, it doesn't mean anything. Just like how anybody can basically file a restraining order. Like, anybody can file these things. Fighting them and proving your case, on the other hand, is the problem. That's why you have things like slap suits, and that's why you have things like people filing retaliatory, things back. Like, I would even probably go out on a limb and, you know what, never mind. I'm not even gonna give this that, but this statement doesn't deserve the work I'm already putting into it. Just go.
Would have happened, right? But there's a big chunk of.
Why don't you want to predict now? You spent so much time predicting. Let's see, 5 years, 3 years?
Evidence in that second amended petition that is not considered by the court, and all of the affidavits are not considered by the court, which amount.
And why? Why are they not considered by the court? Is it because they weren't in evidence during the initial hearings? Like, it's not like this case didn't take a long period of time. Why wouldn't you put it in? Last time we were watching them argue about not having one of their key witnesses have to show up for a deposition, even though there was definitive, like, contradictory stuff. Like, what?
Amounts to a complete deficiency of evidence, according to the appeals court. So, with that, I'm going to.
Poor Nacho Kitty, who's been giving Nick Reiketa money down here. Let me show you real quick. Down here. Legally sound-ish. Great. So, like. People listened to this man. People still listen to this man. Like, you've got to be kidding me, right?
Do sort of a recap introduction of this case, not a long one. I will talk about my involvement with the case because there will probably be some questions about it. And I will kind of just give a brief refresher, because a lot of people who are here watching have no idea what this case was, but it was a huge part of this channel back when it happened.
Huh, was it now? Waffling, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're right.
And there have been so many
Look at this. La la la, I can't see the evidence, it doesn't exist. Bullshit. Like
frustrating aspects of this case from a whole bunch of different sides. And they all culminate in where we are now. So if you're feeling lost right now at this little intro monologue, fear not, I will guide you to the story itself, and we can go from there. No, stop telling me top fucking banner. Stop. Stop it. Stop. I'm good. I'm good right now.
That's a good point from Mars Girl in the chat. Says it was a huge part of the channel because you fucking created the problem, Nick. Yeah, go figure. It's almost like he invented a bunch of drama to make money on YouTube. Wow. And then that ended up, because you created this drama, created some villains, you got a bunch of innocent people harassed who are still being harassed to this day, because like it's not like I'm talking about this and it has nothing to do with anything anymore ever. No, people are still being harassed over this. I still get YouTube comments. There are still people on Twitter that are out here being like, no, Vic Mignogna never did anything wrong, blah 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 blah. And it's like, so what if he didn't? This is a problem. These people built their channels off of this, and like they're not good people. They're not honest people. They're not people who know what they're talking about. It's not like they just knew what they were talking about and got something wrong. That, like, obviously not the case, right?
All right. So with that said, let us begin somewhere towards the beginning.
Am I gonna need like a wrong counter? Am I gonna need like a counter in the corner that's just like shit he just gets wrong about this, his own involvement in this shit? Because I feel like that I feel like that's where we're going.
Somewhere towards the beginning. This is a case of Me Too run amok at the absolute pinnacle of the Believe Women Me Too moment.
Oh yeah, is it? You ever notice there's like a consistent type of person that didn't like the Me Too movement? Yeah, like a really, like, there's some similarities consistent across the board with people that just listen, I'm all right, I will be brief. Believe all women is a slogan. You're not supposed to take it literally. It means you're supposed to believe something happened and then investigate it, not believe women and then adjudicate based solely on what they said. Jesus Christ. Casual sexism. Wrong, you're wrong. Wrong. What this was a piece of shit getting some comeuppance finally, after decades of being a sex pest, and then he wasn't sent to jail, he wasn't adjudicated over this, there was an internal investigation at one place that didn't want to work with him anymore, and he could have just taken that on the chin and moved on, or taken that and then worked with it, right? He didn't have to do all of the things he fucking did about it. But no, now we're here because these men feel like other men are just entitled to be allowed to do whatever they want, and they're entitled to have careers, which isn't how that works. That's not how anything works. Like, the request that these men, these guys have been presenting, like, Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy, and Nick Reiketa have been demanding on behalf. They're asking the entire world to bend over backwards for Vic Mignogna, completely disregarding free speech, completely disregarding people's safety, completely like, what they're asking for is absurd, and they're presenting it as if this absurd thing that they're asking for is the natural way of things, which is just not how anything works, if you want to learn about the natural way of things and how to question that properly, go and follow me over on the other channel, Debate Hub, where we talk about philosophy, and it might make you very uncomfortable.
I won't call it a movement, I'll call it a moment. That moment would be shattered pretty quickly.
What?
By things like COVID, the war in Ukraine, some rising gas prices, things like that.
What? What? This sounds like a Republican gaslighting to me. Yeah, yo, what the fuck does rising gas prices have to do with women being not believed and being assaulted? Like, you do know, like, the movement was relatively successful because there were societal and legislative changes that were made and policies that were put in place. Like, workplace policies and police procedure policies and updates for things that desperately needed them. Like, did you think that the Me Too movement was just supposed to get rid of all rapists? Like, that's not gonna happen. What are you talking about? Right? Like, what? The tea in China? The Boston Tea Party? Guys, feminism doesn't exist because Palestine and Israel is happening. Like, what? Guys, more than one thing can't happen at a time. I don't know what you mean.
Kind of really quickly overshadowed the Me Too movement when a bunch of people went, oh, wait, I actually don't fucking care about these people bitching about these allegations or whatever.
Oh yeah, a lot of people didn't care about the safety of women. I think we know that. I think we all already knew that that was the problem, and that's what it was. That's one of the things it was highlighting. But okay, yeah, Me Too movement happened in 2017. Yeah, Vic Mignogna stuff was like very much the tail end.
And it's lost a lot of its sting. But this case stems from a different time. This case stems from a time when the Believe Women mantra and the Me Too movement were at their zenith, nadir. Which one is it? I don't know. The top one, the apex, the height of power.
When women were alpha back in the day, and men were oppressed.
And this is a case of Victor Mignogna. He is an American voice actor for Japanese cartoons, popularly known as anime. If you have watched much anime, you have likely encountered a Vic Mignogna voice somewhere. His larger known roles are the voices of Broly from Dragon Ball. I shouldn't say Dragon Ball Z. From the Dragon Ball Super movie, and from the Dragon Ball movie universe that included 3 movies starring Broly as the title character. He was never actually in Dragon Ball Z itself, the show, because Broly was a non-canonical.
What is this side tangent about the lore of Dragon Ball Z and its canonicity? This is him dodging talking about the point. He's bloviating.
Character until Dragon Ball Super. But he was the voice of Broly in Dragon Ball Super, the blockbuster anime release that hit in January of 2019. Which is right when all of this started.
Wrong. Incorrect. The allegations about Vic Mignogna being a problematic piece of shit date back to the 80s. So the allegations were brought a little bit more into the general public because of the success of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, of which he was the voice of the title character. You're welcome? You're welcome. Yeah, Broly is maybe his second or third most popular character even. Yeah, if I had to guess, Vic Mignogna's characters popularity, I'd probably put Edward Elric on the top, and then maybe Tamaki. Like Tamaki or Dragon Ball, like Broly could kind of flip back and forth depending on like the group of people you're talking to, I think. But whatever.
Other voice roles you may notice or may know Victor Mignogna from are Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is a show about two brothers.
God damn, we know. He wants it. It's about it's about a crippled kid running around trying to find a magic genocide rock to bring his brother's body back. Yeah, we get it. Good God. Oh my God.
Tend to know him from in the United States is the voice of Tamaki from Oran High School Host Club. I've never.
Tamaki? Why? Yeah, I don't know why we're getting plot dumps of why are we getting synopses of You've never watched Ouran High School Host Club? Nick, maybe you should. Oh no, this is gonna be funny. Hold on, this is gonna be funny.
Ouran High School Host Club, the best I can figure is it's a bunch of gay students doing gay shit in a gay school in Japan.
That is so unbelievably wrong. That's like almost the literal opposite. That's almost literally the opposite. I can't believe that. That's So for anybody who so he's wrong about this too. I don't even, just go watch it around High School Host Club. It's a great, like, feel good little anime. It's very good. I watch it if I'm feeling crabby enough. It cheers me up every time. Meanwhile, allegedly, Nick is already going to gay bars. That's right. There was that rumor going around that he was doing the gay things, but not that I'm a silent voice. Yes, a silent voice is very, very good. So there's two fake gay brothers. Yeah, the twins. The twins that are fake gay, as like they're actors. They're not technically actors. What's the word? They're like they have a word for it. What's the word? It's a bunch of straight kids doing straight shit in a straight school. Yes. But they're all rich. The tag on it is that they're all rich, and that they have like they have the host club is that they're hosts. That's the word. They're hosts. They're male hosts. So instead of being women that are all like, oh, we're all a stereotype, or we're all playing a character, and we're engaging with the customers in like a flirty romantic fashion that doesn't have any real romance to it. It's like a high class, right? But they're male students that are doing it for the female students. That's the flip. That's I think Tamaki had a crush on Haruhi. They all had a crush on Haruhi. It was a reverse harem. That was the point. By the way, did you guys know that Travis Willingham was also in Ouran High School Host Club? He's Mori senpai. Anyway, this is just laughably wrong. I can see how Nick conflated rich with gay, though. Yeah, they host a club that is designed to cater and flirt with women, and he called it gay. It's just laughably wrong. I guess he's also making the mistake that Haruhi is in fact a girl, not a boy, but it also doesn't surprise me that a show that is dealing with some complex undertones about sexuality or about identity, specifically like the identity or like on a non-binary or a trans or drag, or like the show has a lot of that in its undertones. It doesn't tend to address them terribly overtly except for a couple of times, but it doesn't surprise me that that somebody like Nick Reiketa is just shitting on that and just calling it gay. It's like, it doesn't surprise me at all.
But I don't understand
Escorts,
what
yes.
the fuck is
Escorts.
happening on the screen in Orin High School Host Club. What I do understand is a bunch of people like it, and it's an anime that doesn't have robots, ninjas, or ninja-shaped robots in it, so I don't watch that shit.
Also incorrect. The Lobelia girls definitely do some ninja shit. Don't recall a robot. But there is a Kyoya.
But a lot of people liked it. Other notable roles were Crow from the show Ruby, I think. And then was he in JoJo's? I don't know. He's got a lot of other roles all over the place because the anime world is an insular and incestuous pit of nepotism and in-group, out-group thinking.
But you're the ones that are saying that Vic Mignogna is owed a career. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know.
Vic was on the in-group for quite some time.
No, he wasn't.
No,
he was not. He was not on the in-group. That was part of the in-group was not sexually assaulting people and not touching people who don't want to be touched and not being a dick to staff. All right, let me be clear. In-group, out-group. In-group, not being a dick to con staff. Out-group, being a dick to con staff. In-group, not touching people who don't want to be touched. Out-group, touching people who don't want to be touched. I want to be clear here. If you're going to call this an in-group, out-group, one group is definitively in the clear, and the other group is definitively not in the clear, and potentially doing crime. Stop.
Longer on the in-group and became on the out-group.
One of Vic's major complaints is he thought all these people were his friends, and all of them were like, we weren't friends with you.
He was Rohan in JoJo. Okay. That means literally nothing to me still.
Then how do you know how the anime industry works and the inner workings of interpersonal relationships within that industry if you don't know anything about it? Like, how are you able to make these sweeping, generalized, unjustified statements and then immediately turn around and say you make it very clear that you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about?
So, you can type him into IMDb. You'll see him in numerous films. If you want to talk to the man himself, or, well, not really talk to him, but if you want to see an interview
Films?
with the man himself, in which I talked to him for quite a long time, it's one of the pinned interviews on my channel, the interview with Vic Mignogna. And you can hear his story in that interview about this whole fiasco. But the summary version is this. Right on the cusp of the release of Dragon Ball Super, when press is at its maximum for the film, a tweet was made about Vic Mignogna tagging Funimation, asking why they let, creeps or pedophiles or something on the work at their studio.
That is not what that tweet said. You know it. I know it. Everyone here knows it. We know what it said. You showed it in your first video. Do you need me to remind you? Why don't I do that? Why don't I remind you? Let me just pull this up real quick. Let's just look. Let's just look. All right. Shut up. We're just gonna check. Here it is. On your own video. What does this say? Hard to say this, especially on the night that a DBZ film dropped, so it wasn't beforehand. And knowing that I have friends/acquaintances at Funimation, but, ellipses, God, this looks like shit. Why is the quality, why is this in 480p? Good God, at least you could make your screenshots readable. At Funimation, I think it may be time to reconsider hiring Vic Mignogna as a voice actor in the future due to years and great volumes of sexual misconduct. Does this need like a hashtag or something, like, I don't know, kick Vic? Or does that invoke too much of an image of physically kicking him rather than giving him the boot? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I don't create hashtags. Where is there an accusation of pedophilia in here? It's almost like you're lying, Nick. It's almost like you're fucking lying. Still. This is your own video. Dumb fuck.
The interesting nature of this tweet is that the person who made it is actually retarded. I think due to a brain injury. Or maybe they got the information from someone who is retarded due to a brain injury. I can't remember. But
what? What? I still have yet to see a single one of these people explain to me what is wrong with this tweet. Reconsider. He has years of great volumes of sexual misconduct, which Vic admitted to. Do I need to pull that up again too, where we have Vic Mignogna saying, "Oh my god, I was touching," like, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry if people didn't like that I was touching people." And then there was also another quote of him from an interview that he did in an article where he says, "Well, if I hug 1,000 people and 999 like it and one person I feel uncomfortable, then I'm a sexual predator." Yes! Yes, don't touch people who don't want to be touched. It's not even, the fact that you're making excuses for it makes it worse. And it wasn't just once. Regardless, you know what happens? What people call you if you fuck a sheep one time? A sheep fucker. God, he's so mad. He's so mad.
They were actually talking about a different voice actor in their tweet. This was discovered later, deep in web forums in which this person was discussing the tweet.
Are you talking about somebody else? Why are you being so vague about who you're talking about? Are you talking about what?
Itself. The tweet was about a man named Ilich Guardiola. Ilich Guardiola is another American voice actor of Japanese cartoons who decided to have sex with a 16-year-old. Once it was uncovered that he was having sex with an underage person, he asked permission to the person's parents and they promptly got married. Thus, charges were dropped. But
are you going to show what the fuck you're talking about? I don't think he's going to show what the fuck he's talking about.
Guardiola
he's not going to show what he's talking about.
Super famous in the anime industry ever since then. Ilich Guardiola at one point dated Monica.
Yeah, he's conflating things at this point. He's conflating. Look, we looked at the blog last time when that was brought up, and that was already brought up right away that this person was thinking about somebody else. Like, that was almost instantly. So what the hell is he talking about? God, he's so, like, all right. Chat, do you think that Nick Reiketa in this video is already doing cocaine or not? Because this is from 2 years ago. He's doing the defamation dance. Yeah.
Real, who ends up being a part of this case. Again, the world of anime is insular and incestuous.
I'm sorry, is he accusing Monica Real of engaging in incestuous sexual relationships? Because that sounds like what he's trying to imply without actually saying it.
Following the tweet, there was a firestorm. This firestorm was fueled by certain retweets from certain people. The most important of those people, for the purposes of this case, being Jamie Markey and Monica Real.
This is part of the problem with this. not only is Nick Reiketa not telling us which tweet he's talking about, it sounds like he's conflating like 3 different stories. The initial one that he brought up, which is of course Mars Girl's tweet, and then somebody else's story. So it was subtle, but he might have been trying to actually switch topics when he said there was this tweet that tagged Funimation, and this story. And this story is a whole conflated issue, which is irrelevant. And then Jamie and Monica's tweets.
Jamie Markey and Monica Rial piled on to the tweet storm that was going on.
He's doing cocaine. Okay, alright, April, you got me. You got me on that's good. That's very funny. Very funny. Yeah, no, he's muddying the waters, and he's muddying the waters on purpose.
Over the next couple days, sharing their quote-unquote stories about Vic Mignogna. And I put a heavy emphasis on story because these stories, each time they are told, have changed quite a bit. They've also, on key facts, I should say, they've changed on key
such as
facts, and they sound very similar to other stories that have been told by other people. And
oh, I'm sorry. How many different ways can you say he grabbed me and I didn't want to be grabbed and it made me uncomfortable? He touched me in a way that I didn't want to be touched and it made me uncomfortable. He said something like weirdly sexual in my ear when he grabbed me and it made me uncomfortable. How many how many different ways are you going to be able to say that, dude? This is such a weird cope. Like, again, he is coping, but this is like a weird argument, like a very, very strange argument to even try to make, because it's like, huh?
If you
get
watch
creative
through
with it,
the
guys.
Johnny Depp case with me, you'll note that I made a point about this, that in these Me Too accusation cases, what happens is there's an initial story, and that story doesn't seem to get the necessary traction. So it is morphed and changed and borrowed and grown. And what you find is this pile-on effect of people. And I'm not quite sure the reason it happens.
Nick, could it possibly be that in most cases of Me Too is that the whole point it's called Me Too is that when one person says they experienced with this, had an experience, these other people come forward and say they had the same or a similar experience because that person is a problem? How you... What? What? That's why it's called Me Too. That's one of the reasons why Johnny Depp's case didn't have as much like bolster to it while it was going on, was because there wasn't anybody else. There was no other Me Too. Like there was nobody else being like, yeah, Johnny Depp's a creep. Like that didn't happen. That alone is not evidence that something didn't happen to Amber Heard. That means it's just not a Me Too situation where there's like where one person is like being problematic and assaulting a lot of people, like for example your Harvey Weinstein. But the fact that like Nick Reiketa doesn't even understand this basic content, like basic understanding. Yeah, see, Mars Girl, they know he's talking about Mars Girl. But it's interesting that he's lying so gratuitously to his fan base about something that Mars Girl said.
Believers would suggest it's because the one person who's being accused is so bad that they did the exact same thing to so many women that all the stories sound the same. More cynical people would suggest that those stories get popularized, and when they become effective and allow people to get some sort of attention or recognition for their quote-unquote victimhood, they utilize the same story that other people have utilized and will repeat it or repeat something extremely similar.
That's not cynicism, that's stupidity. It'd be cynical would be doing exactly what Me Too wants you to do. Investigate and be cynical. Me Too, the whole point is to believe women, as in look into what they're saying. Good God, how do you have such a gross misunderstanding of the entirety of the movement? It's not like women can't lie. It's not like men can't lie. The whole point is to investigate and look at. Why am I explaining this?
I think the truth on this case is more along that later line, that events that happened were distorted by other stories, and in the more salacious aspects of those other stories were incorporated into the initial stories of the events to make them.
So then there were salacious stories and events initially. So you've just accidentally admitted that there were stories that were valid because they can't be invalidated by the reason that you're trying to invalidate these other stories. So you've got stories A and you've got stories B now. Stories B being less likely to be true because they sound similar to stories A. Well, that doesn't dissuade you on stories A. This is very stupid.
Them worse than what they were for the purposes of defaming someone. That's my opinion. Other people might have different opinions. So this is all going on in late January of 20.
The most important thing to remember is that Monica and Jamie did their best to make Vic kill himself. Like...
2018. Was it 2018? Shit, I don't even remember. I guess I could look. Let me see if I have quickly the... Wrong folder. Oh, it looks like beginning of 2019. Beginning of 2019. Sorry, with COVID, I no longer know the dates that happened. It's just BC and AC, right? Before.
Yeah, I agree with that. COVID has super duper fucked with everybody's sense of time. Fine.
COVID and after COVID, and 2020 doesn't exist at all. So, this is at the beginning of 2019. By February of 2019, February 11th to be specific, after many calls for it from the Twitter masses. And by many calls, I mean not actually that many calls, because that's how Twitter works. It only takes a relatively small number of people to bitch about something for something to happen. But
this is like such like a I want to have my cake and eat it too. He wants them to be like these great victims of these masses of people and wants to be victimized, but also wants to downplay the power that this other group has because they want to be in power. So this is a classic. This is very, very classic. You actually see this all the time for people who are bitching and people who are pretending, right? They'll say, listen, these people are so powerful, I'm the victim, but I'm actually stronger than all these people because I'm smarter than they are, and I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that, right? You see it all the time. It's very different. If you ever want to like catch a red flag that somebody might be misrepresenting something, look for that kind of a contradiction.
But importantly, with reinforcement from people like Monica Rial and Jamie Markey, Vic would be fired as a voice actor by Funimation, the largest voice acting studio for anime cartoons in the United States.
I would like to remind you that the let's let him remind us. Everyone, we wanted to give you an update on the Vic Mignogna situation following an investigation. Funimation recast Vic Mignogna in Morose Mononoke Season 2. Funimation will not be engaging Mignogna in future productions. Part of our core mission is to celebrate the diversity of the anime community and to share our love for this genre and its positive impact on all. We do not condone any kind of harassment or threatening behavior being directed at anyone. At best he had his contract canceled due to internal conflicts. Like You'll notice that one of the things that's interesting, it's very interesting about this. They talked a lot about tortious interference, right? That Jamie and Ron and Monica and Mars Girl and everyone under the sun was interfering in Vic's contracts with conventions, but none of them ever point out that, well, Funimation canceled their contract due to all this stuff, right? They make that claim, but they didn't go for tortious interference about this contract. Why not? Why not the Funimation contract? Wouldn't the Funimation contract be more valuable? And if you manage to maintain your Funimation contract, it would be easier to maintain contracts with conventions. So why, if it was Jamie and Monica and Mars Girl's fault that Funimation dropped him and like ended their contracts with Vic, why isn't that tortious interference, and why wouldn't you go after that contract? Is it because of that investigation that's being listed there? That they would have justified the breaking of the contract over? Interesting, fascinating.
And that is when all of this really, really kicked off. And this is, most importantly, to any story, is where I come into it. Okay? This is where I come in. So by February 11th of 2019, Vic Mignogna is fired from Funimation. And quickly, this becomes a subject of discussion online. I am not a huge anime fan. I like anime, but again, I have a problem calling myself a fan of things when I'm not properly within the fandom. Again, ninjas, robots, ninja-shaped robots, sufficient amounts of murder are kind of necessary for me to watch a Japanese cartoon. I don't like slice of life anime. I don't like cutesy anime. I don't like comedy anime. Just not my thing. You can like it all you want, you degenerates, but it's not my thing. So I don't call my.
Wait, did he just call slice of life fans degenerates? Slice of life? Really? That's what you're gonna. Okay. Sure.
Myself like a fan, because I think that's a little more than an observer or an occasional consumer. However, I'm very interested, always am, in these accusation cases, whether they're true, whether they're false, whether someone is making up a story, whether there's any merit to it. So I start asking around and in circles that I run with people who have more knowledge than me about this scenario, what's going on, and decide to do a couple shows talking about it. The first show I did was an interview with Doug TeNapel, and this is not the main focus of the show, but since Doug TeNapel had been in the American cartoon industry for so long, I had asked him some questions about this sort of person to see if he had known anything about him. Not really much came back from Doug, but he was initially skeptical of Vic, not based on anything he knows about Vic, but based on what he knows about American cartoon voice actors and how slimy that industry could be.
So you're telling me that Vic had a bad reputation? Oh, okay. Especially like in retrospect with all the Nickelodeon stuff that came out recently.
But the next show was a full dedicated show, a panel discussion with Yellow Flash, Anime Outsiders, I think that Umbrella guy, and maybe Hero Hey, something like that. I can't remember the initial panel.
This one. This one right here. How social media justice panel, Yellow Flash, Gator, Anime Outsiders talk Vic Mignogna. It was this one. It happened right before this this other video that we watched. You can see. Do we have like a panel shot? Oh my god, what is this trash? I feel like I need to watch this one. Anyway, whatever. The one that started it all. Shut up.
Panel off the top of my head. But we had a panel discussion talking about the allegations. I had looked at it and asked around. I did not find much credibility in the accusations at all. But we talked about the show. Or we talked about it on the show. I believe that was the show that prior to that, I had sent an email to Vic Mignogna, who I have never met prior to this point. I've never spoken to, didn't even know who he was, but I was given his email address, which turned out to be public anyway, by Anime Outsiders. And I made contact with him and just said, hey, we're doing a show talking about your situation. As a courtesy, I would like to invite you on. He politely declined to do the show, which was obviously a smart move. He should not have done the show, but, you know, courtesy and grifting demanded that I ask, you know, if he would like to.
I mean, at least he knows he's a grifter.
After the show, I was contacted again by Vic Mignogna, and
yeah, for anybody who didn't catch it, that was Nick Reiketa just admitting out loud, brazenly, to his entire audience and to everybody else watching this in the future that the entire reason that he reached out to Vic Mignogna and talked about this in the first place was grifting, was to grift. I would like to again also remind everybody that we have literally never seen a single receipt from this GoFundMe that they did that raised all this money.
A discussion of hiring a lawyer came up. I am a lawyer in Minnesota who is not licensed to practice law in Texas. I also am a solo practitioner with no like greater network of resources around. I'm just a guy. I was also doing YouTube and had switched at that point to primarily doing YouTube. That was the time when I was building my channel. So I was not particularly equipped to deal with any sort of lawsuit and was not looking to represent anyone in a lawsuit, certainly not anyone in Texas. Nor would I have thought that it would.
It doesn't matter where you thought you were. You're not legally able to represent anybody in Texas. Your license isn't for Texas. What the fuck are you talking about? Why did you start the GoFundMe then, you moron? Like, what are you talking about?
Be ethically sound.
Why are you even bringing this up? It's almost like you're trying to, like, doth the lady protest too much?
Certainly not anyone in Texas. Nor would I have thought that it would be ethically sound for me to represent someone when in a case like that, where the resources were so demanding, so to speak. But that being said, I was not soliciting for any legal work for anybody, much less Vic Mignogna. However, damn, I can see the internet getting really bad. Is the bit rate really bad, or is it still going okay?
It's still going. It pixelated a little.
We'll see. Yeah, I can tell the in YouTube. Nice. Well, if the audio's fine, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. So, I was asked whether or not I knew of any lawyers who could handle that case. So I mentioned that there is a lawyer in Texas with a firm with the resources to handle a case of that size. And
he was wrong, because they hired a real estate lawyer.
I made the referral, so to speak, to get into contact with a guy named Ty Beard. Ty Beard is an attorney who has done all sorts of work for my family, and that's a true fact. Always has been a true fact. But I had not personally met or interacted with Ty Beard, I think, at all prior.
That I'm not sure about, but also, what was he saying about nepotism? Oh, Phelan, did you not know about that? Yeah, Ty Beard is his family's personal real estate lawyer that was handling like money transfers from like one family member passing and downwards. Yeah, there is there was absolutely a personal tie-in for Nick and Ty Beard, who were the named recipients of all of the money. Not Vic Mignogna. Vic Mignogna was not listed.
To that. I may have I'd spoken with him on the phone, but I don't know that I had ever met Ty in person at that point.
I don't know if I'd ever met or talked to him. Oh wait, I talked to him on the phone. Oh yeah, did you have email correspondence as well, so you knew who he was because you had to do your inheritance? Jackass.
Not a close relationship for me, but a relationship did exist. A lawyer in Texas who I knew was not afraid to fight and who also had a law firm equipped to handle all sorts of things.
But he's a real estate lawyer, and this was a defamation case. What are you talking about? And what do you mean by personal relationship? Are you asking if like you were drinking buddies from another state with your lawyer? Like, what are you talking about?
That were pretty big and dealt with high value clients all the time. So I made a referral and said, you can talk to this person and do whatever you do. It's not up to me. I didn't tell anybody to hire anybody. I don't tell anybody what.
Yes, you did. The money that was raised went to Ty Beard. If Vic was going to hire somebody, he would have had to pay for everything and never seen that money. So you basically finagled it in a way that it meant that Ty Beard would have been the lawyer if they wanted it paid for. It like, first off, wishy-washy language. Second off, then why wouldn't you raise the money and then not have the money in Ty Beard's name? Have the money in a fund that then allows Vic to hire whatever lawyer he wanted. You didn't do that. You said if you want this money and you want this you want to be represented in this case, that you should do, that you guys brought up to him, that you initiated, you put that idea in his head, and then that this was the lawyer he would have to go with. This was the firm that he would have to go with. And a referral is telling somebody to hire somebody. That's what a referral is. What kind of... Are Nick Reiketa fans this fucking stupid? Are Vic Mignogna fans this fucking stupid? Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yes. Yes, they are. That's insanely dumb. That is insanely foolish. That is...
They should do, but if you ask me for a lawyer referral, I try and give one. So with that, Vic contacted Ty, and they decided to work together at that point. A whole lot has been...
Before or after your GoFundMe, Nick? Before or after your GoFundMe? Because if you did the GoFundMe, got a bunch of money, and then then Ty Beard reached out to Vic Mignogna and said, hey, I can take this pro bono, quote unquote, because I've got all this funding from your fan base. That's not exactly not telling Vic Mignogna who to hire, you know what I mean?
Said about my involvement in this case, my demand that Vic hire Ty, my demand that Vic sue these people. None of that has ever been true. I laugh it off all the time. I believe I've stated online.
You literally just explained how you had a personal tie into the case. You're an idiot.
Several times that none of it's true, but None of that is true. If you ask me for a phone number, I can give you a phone number, but I can't make you hire someone. I can't suggest you hire someone. I don't really care if you hire someone. That's not really up to me.
Then it's not a referral. So now you're saying that you gave a referral to Vic, but then said that Ty reached out to Vic. So what happened? This. I've stated several times that none of this is true, but none of it is none of it is true, but none of it is true. So you lied about it not being true. Yeah, he's all over the place because he's bullshitting. So he can't keep track of all of the bullshit.
But lots of people think that I somehow forced Vic to hire Ty and demanded that Vic sue these people.
I'm gonna give you an offer you can't refuse. If you're having issues and you're desperate and somebody shows up and offers you a helping hand for free, what the fuck do you think this is? Nick, do you know not the word coercion? Do you know not like an offer? Like, what are you talking about? People think that Vic wouldn't have sued if you didn't initiate a GoFundMe and give him an ostensibly free lawyer, even though that lawyer ended up being completely garbage for the case. What else was Vic supposed to do besides say no? I mean, I guess he could have. That probably would have been the intelligent decision, but we already knew that Vic wasn't exactly in that kind of mental space or position regardless. And then you profited off of it a bunch. You literally just said that you grifted into this and started your fucking channel this way. Like, what are you trying to say?
Again, not true.
You literally just explained how it was true.
Say about that. But I did make the referral to Beard and Harris. Vic followed.
So you referred them, which means hire this person. That is you telling him to hire that person, and a bunch of money came along with it. Like, hire this person and you don't have to pay for the lawyer. It's not like you offered him the money if he didn't hire Ty Beard. That didn't happen. That explicitly says that in the fucking GoFundMe. This has already been talked about, that he wouldn't have gotten access to that money or a lawyer necessarily at all if he didn't take... I'm repeating myself.
Followed up with it and must have liked what he heard. With that, a lawsuit was
free lawyer.
The lawsuit was for defamation. There were 4 targets: Monica Rial, Jamie Markey. These are 2 fat women who voice act skinny characters in anime.
Ah, the simple-minded, entitled man who thinks that insulting a woman, the greatest insult, the easiest insult that will bother a woman is calling them fat. Adorable. Truly. You don't have anything better than that, Nick? They're fat? Okay. Okay.
A guy named Ron Toye, who is the forever fiance of Monica Rial. She knows never to marry him because he is a wife beater, according to the Texas courts and his own.
You do know that if you reference the Texas courts for this, then you can't ignore the Texas courts with Vic, right? So you see what I'm saying here? So if you're like, hey, the Texas court's this, but not this, you know what I mean? Side note, by the way, being literally married changes nothing about whether or not somebody might abuse somebody in a relationship. It's the privatization and isolation, not the actually literally being married is not gonna stop somebody from. It's the same reason why being married doesn't stop somebody else from somebody from assaulting somebody else. Like it's not how any of this works. This is stupid and misogynistic.
Admissions. But that being said, the 4th party that was sued in this case was Funimation itself for their tweets made around February 11th. These four people / entities were all in Texas, and this could all be done in Texas state court. Whether that was the right or wrong decision remains for the history books. Some people will say it's wrong. Some people will say it's right. There are questions.
Fun fact, your physicality is irrelevant when your main asset is your voice. Well, that, and also different sizes of people will provide different vocal capabilities sometimes. So one of the reasons why for a very long time historically women who were heftier were singers for opera was because their chest was wider, and so they were able to, there was more resonance in the chesticle area. There, among other reasons, but it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. And guess what? Being fat or not doesn't mean you're gonna be assaulted. Being overweight by fucking Reiketa's, it's because they're not even. It's like when Veda calls me fat. I'm not like, I don't care. I'm half her size. It's irrelevant.
It's about suing other people involved as to their ability to actually pay, as well as the logistics of conducting multi-state lawsuits. Again, not my decision. Don't really care what people decided to do. These were the four targets that were picked, and why they were picked will be a conversation between Vic and Ty and probably no one else. That being said, that's who was sued.
Did we forget already that, like, by the time this video came out, that Reiketa was asking his audience for screenshots and that he was going to compile information for Vic's lawyer? Meaning that he was directly involved? Meaning that he was gathering evidence for this case? And he's just pretending he didn't do that? He set up an entire email tag for it? Like, really? Really?
The defendants in the case filed respective TCPA motions. That's the Texas Citizens Participation Act. And that is, it's an anti-slap motion. What that means is it's a motion to dismiss, stating that the lawsuit itself is frivolous and designed entirely to silence the speech that should be protected by the First Amendment.
Which was entirely the point, as was admitted by Yellow Flash. Yellow Flash, in the last video we watched, and in the first video we watched, admitted that it was just opinions that people were making on Twitter that they didn't agree with and they didn't like. That was it. They said that out loud. So even if this had gone to further court, you could very easily tie this all together.
Now this
is a harassment campaign of men against women victims. That's what this is. Dude, I don't want to mince words on this. Reiketa, Yellow Flash, Vic Mignogna, and that umbrella guy all got together, worked together to harass women who were saying that they were victims of Vic Mignogna, to silence them because they didn't like their opinions. That's what this was. Simple as that. If they really had an issue, they should be going to Funimation and going to that fucking investigation and saying whether or not that investigation was legal or not, and they should be going through tortious interference, and they should be going through labor laws. They didn't do that. They made a mockery of the court. They fucking ran around like a bunch of lip dick losers trying to fucking get, because they couldn't fucking have a conversation, an adult conversation with literally fucking anybody because they're fucking children, and decided to just make a bunch of fucking videos to grift, which he admitted he was doing, and his friends went along with, to make a bunch of fucking accusations to attack people they thought were weaker than they are. Because these women don't have platforms. Especially comparatively. And I'm not necessarily talking about just Monica. I'm not talking about just Jamie. I'm not talking about Funimation not having a platform. I'm talking about all of the Me Too people that were like, this happened to me, this happened. The people that Vic admitted he did this to. Unfucking believable.
Kind of a weird thing that courts are allowed to do, because technically a private party cannot silence the speech of another private party, or well, does not have, there's not a way for the government to stop a private party from silencing the speech of another private party. Okay, so typically there's not much you can do about it if someone is preventing you from speaking. That's what I'm trying to say. However, anti-slap provisions suggest that a person utilizing the courts is not a private person doing this anymore. Instead, they're asking the government to silence or punish the speech of another person. Therefore, First Amendment concerns come in, and they crafted this anti-slap statute that is in place in several states to try and combat frivolous lawsuits. Think of it this way. Let's say you go to a McDonald's and you say, these chicken nuggets are trash. They're made with white meat and I prefer dark meat, or whatever. And McDonald's says, you motherfucker, I don't like what you say, so I'm going to sue you to stop you from saying that. McDonald's has a lot of money and very powerful lawyers. You probably don't. So the idea would be that they would bully you with the legal system. The anti-slap is designed around this sort of idea, the abuse of the legal system to prevent other people from speaking.
Accidentally, they're admitting that they were trying to abuse the legal system to stop other people from speaking. Wow, it's almost like I ran on that whole rant, and then Nick Reiketa goes ahead and it literally explains exactly the thing that I was saying he was doing. That's a terrible analogy, by the way. That was a really, really, really bad analogy. Oh, Nick, I beg of you. What's an opinion? What is a fact? And what is evidence? Because we keep seeing these words thrown around. To this day, I see people throwing these words around with no fucking idea of what they mean. Please keep in mind that evidence has different meanings depending on where you're talking about. The bar of evidence is different for each person. The bar of evidence is different in a legal sense than a scientific sense. These words mean different things depending on the context. So an opinion, evidence, and facts can all actually be the same individual thing. If there's somebody dead on the ground, and I saw somebody murder somebody, and I say, I saw that guy get murdered, that is evidence, a fact, and an opinion all at the same time, because I think he was murdered, I saw him get murdered, and they are currently not alive, and they were murdered. This is so stupid. Good God.
Now, that's the ideal of the anti-slap. How it works in practice in many states is it comes out, in my opinion, to be a bludgeon to stop otherwise meritorious lawsuits through the provisions of the statute, which do things like prevent discovery. People do not have to comply with discovery in these lawsuits in Texas specifically because the TCPA itself stops discovery the moment the motion is filed. You say, okay, you don't get to find anything else out. Well, now you have to conduct a lawsuit, at least at the initial stages, and gather some evidence at the initial stages to try and support factually your claims that they have lied about you. But think about
it's not just that they lied about you. It has to be, you're talking about defamation. It has to be actual malice. Again, we're back to Nick trying to describe legal situations and then not using proper legal terminology nor explaining it properly.
the problem with this here that we already have. You have to prove the negative. You have to prove that what someone said is not true. You already have a high burden. Anti-SLAPP statutes put a little bit of a higher burden on these types of lawsuits. Some people really like them. I like the concept of anti-SLAPP I do not think it's applied appropriately. And I think in the age of things like Me Too, that it gets misapplied with regularity, and that people who are actual victims of actual defamation are not able to fight back because the burden of an anti-slap is so high.
You mean like people like Jamie and Mars Girl and Monica with all the shit that you're saying about them? Like that, for example? Or, I don't know, for example, all the stuff we've seen around the company.
Now, if you lose an anti-slap motion in Texas, which is what would ultimately happen to Vic Mignogna, not only do you lose your case, but you are then required to pay the reasonable attorney's fees of the other party. So the prospect of bringing a lawsuit is extremely expensive because you have to fund your own.
If you lose, yeah, it means don't fuck around. Like, it means that there are consequences if you're fucking around with the court and you're not able to properly bring your lawsuit. Simple as that. There are consequences. Like, I think that I think Nick would agree with me, right? And I think most people here would agree with me that if I said, if somebody lies about sexual assault and it goes to, like somebody is arrested and it goes to court and they have to fight it, the person who lied about it, if it is shown that they have lied, there should be consequences for that. I think we can all agree, right? So if we can all agree about that, why wouldn't we agree about this? It's the same concept.
Own legal representation, and you may
because that would literally mean you could just continuously file bullshit claims and utilize the court to like abuse somebody financially, and that would be what the anti-slap law is supposed to prevent. But whatever.
To fund a good bit of your opponent's legal representation, and it's dependent on whether or not you can prove sufficient to some judge that this case has merit, but you're not able to call witnesses, you're not able to compel evidence production from any of the parties or any of the non-parties prior to the suit, or once the anti-slap is filed. It becomes.
Hey, you want to know something really particular about this that really, really is telling about what these guys' whole shtick is about? Notice how they focus so hard on the individuals and not on Funimation. Funimation was the one who canceled his contract. Funimation is the one that's not working with him anymore. Why are they focused on these particular individuals, particularly these women, instead of being like, hey, Funimation, this isn't appropriate? No? Why? Why are you not focused on the corporation that's imposing this draconian shit like you're presenting they are? No? Why? Why would we bully women instead?
Ridiculous. Becomes very, very difficult. So that said, a TCPA motion was filed, and the fight really kicked off at that point. There was all sorts of motion work that happened back and forth. And in the end, there was a hearing. I attended this hearing in the audience because despite the protestations of really dumb people on Twitter, I am not and have never been on Vic's legal team or in Vic's employment as a lawyer.
That makes sense. I agree with that, but you also said you were working with them. That doesn't mean you have to officially be, like, employed. But you also were getting paid by this GoFundMe, right? Right? No? You didn't skim any off the top? For your services? How do we know you didn't? There's no fucking receipts for anything. On the other hand, we already know you were intricately personally involved, so shut up. I'm
really, really sorry to say that, but it's not me. I have not been drafting legal documents. I have not been constructing legal arguments. All I have done is what I do with any case that I'm following, and that is cover what happens, talk about different possibilities, talk about different strategies, and see where the show goes.
That is not true. That is a lie. You specifically asked for evidence so you could, because these cases were a lot of work, you asked your fan base to go out, follow these people around, screenshot everything they were doing, and compile it for you, so then you could compile it as an evidence binder for the lawyers to make their jobs easier. Because you said it was going to be really difficult and really complicated and a lot to go through. Right? You also funded the money for the legal team in the first place, and you and your friends got a whole fucking movement around it. You're gonna call Kick Vic a movement? I Stand With Vic is equally as much of a movement, if not more so, because the Kick Vic didn't have fucking 3 or 4 YouTubers trying to grift off them and fucking rile people up. So don't fucking pretend that you didn't have anything to do with any of this, you fucking liar. If you had nothing to do with it, you wouldn't have to be lying. If you had nothing to do with it and just talked about what happened, you wouldn't be so intricately involved. If you had nothing to do with it, then you would be talking about these things as if you didn't have a horse in the race, except you did have a horse in the race. And so you wanted Vic to win, which is why, as you mentioned, you were disappointed in the first place. Like, who are you kidding here?
Because that's the show that I run. And for me, it's much more profitable than being a lawyer. But that said, Vic would...
Nick actually just admitted he's a shitty lawyer and makes more money off of YouTube than he ever would as a lawyer because he's a shitty lawyer.
Ultimately lose at this hearing. This would have been...
Literally just admitted he was profiting off this case and siding with Vic Mignogna. Literally just admitted he was profiteering. What the fuck? If he had said that, but then had actually covered this case in like a fair and reasonable bipartisan way, like a non-biased way, or at least as non-biasedly as possible, that would have been fine. But he obviously didn't, especially since he already admitted he was grifting.
Mid to late 2019, dates are fuzzy. Mid to late 2019, he would lose at this hearing, and then he would appeal that decision to the Texas Second Court of Appeals, and then it would take until now, tonight, to get a result. And that's what we're going to go through. So I hope that introduction was Palmyra, can you message?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.
Fuck this dude. Alright, is he finally gonna... Okay, that was the intro. And how much of that did he get wrong? I'm gonna take a quick break, because I need to pee. And I need more tea. So I'll be back in a minute. God damn it. God damn it, dude. Alright. 33-minute intro. Yeah. Hello. I'm back. Tea has been obtained. Let's jump to him actually talking about the I'm gonna jump ahead because I think he's gonna go on like a tangent here, but we're gonna jump ahead to him actually covering the case itself. So here's the paperwork, so let's start about here.
Like if people wanted to donate to the GoFundMe, they could. I don't know that I'd be the one to promote it though. Because I see big problems bringing it to the Supreme Court. Or not really big problems. I'm not sure it's the right move, personally. So, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, more fees and lots of them going to the Supreme Court. It would add significant cost. Kelly Forgy says, may I ask for a toast and a prayer? My aunt, friend, and drinking buddy is on the losing end of a sudden battle versus an aggressive brain cancer. She's leaving behind a husband, 2 kids, and 2 grandkids. We're losing a real one. Yes, you can, Kelly. To Kelly's friend, reputation, there cannot, and I committed relate on the motive is trauma. Always, she taught that. All right. Elite Neo says, sucks Vic's appeal ended this way, but at least he's still got his gig with Anime Matsuri's studio and all his fans who love him. He'll be okay. Plus, now everyone knows what pieces of garbage Ron, Monica, Jamie, etc. truly are.
Wait, why? Hold on. Why are we coming to the conclusion that Monica, Ron, and Jamie are bad people when they won their cases? Like, what did they do besides have opinions you don't agree with? Like, what have they done? Same with Mars Girl. What did she do? Have an opinion you didn't like? Said, hey, maybe this should be investigated? Yeah, what is going on with Anime Matsuri, by the way? Is it nothing? I think it's nothing. I think that was another grift. That was cope.
And then Sublime and Slime says, lost my Discord account and server of 6,000 that I and other Jannies spent time building for supporting Trump and don't like the use of combs on children by alphabet people. Find us on r/ask_the_Donald on Reddit now. New server, same people. Link there. Well, there you go. And get it while it's hot, because I'm sure that'll get banned too pretty quickly. Okay, let's do this.
Good. So, no surprise that somebody like Nick Reiketa and all of their fans and fan base are anti-LGBTQ plus people, and they hate women, etc., 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 Trump supporters, yada, yada, yada. So, racists. Good shit.
Let's get into the document. So this is the memorandum opinion. This is the full opinion of the court itself. It was penned by which one? Wallach. Wallach is the judge who penned the opinion. Joe Schmo, 1 of 3, says, hey, Nick, buy some $20 ice bags to drown the taste out of those military special judges. Participation Act is an anti-SLAPP statute intended to encourage and safeguard the constitutional rights of persons to petition, speak freely, associate freely, and otherwise participate in government to the maximum extent permitted by law, at the same time protect the rights of a person to file meritorious lawsuits for demonstrable injury. I mean, again, looks like a meritorious lawsuit for demonstrable injury for me, but it's all in how it plays out in court, as we'll find. Here we go. The TCPA was intended to provide protection for the involvement of citizens in the exchange of ideas. To that end, the TCPA provides a procedural mechanism for dismissal of lawsuits that could unjustifiably interfere with these rights. Under the TCPA, the first step in the statutory burden shift and analysis is for a defendant movement to show by a preponderance of the evidence that the plaintiff's claim is based on, relates to, or is in response to the movement's exercise of the rights of free speech, of association, or petition. So the first thing is that you sue someone, right? And then they move for the anti-SLAPP. So they are the movement. they have to prove that what they did was within their rights of free speech, free association, or the right to petition. Most things that you do are within these rights, right? Like if I say something to you, I'm exercising my right of free speech. If I hang out with you, I'm exercising my right of association. So long as there are a couple people involved, you pretty much nailed this. Posting on Twitter, for example, probably exercising your right of free speech and association. Even though there's this weird conundrum where we've determined that you have no free speech on Twitter, it is still considered an exercise of your free speech rights to post on Twitter.
You're an idiot. Twitter is a private company and is allowed to allowed to pick and choose what they want to allow on their platform. You're still within free speech to say what you want. It's like getting kicked out of a bar. The bar is allowed to kick you out, but you're not going to be arrested or you're not going to be punished by the government for saying whatever you said in the bar unless you meet specific standards, right? So like harassment standards, for example, like yelling a bunch of slurs at somebody and instigating a fight or whatever. That can all be considered like unruly behavior, stuff like that. But you're allowed to, like, do you not understand these basic concepts? These aren't hard. We're back to what is an opinion, Nick?
The law is weird and fuckery is afoot.
No, you're just a dumbass. It's not hard. It's not fucking... You're allowed to say personally what you want, but nobody has to listen to you. And private entities are allowed to kick you the fuck off of their property. That's it. It is not complicated.
The Anime Collector with another donation. Hey, thanks, buddy. He says, I think I speak for everyone here when I say that we'd blow up that GoFundMe at the drop of a hat. Just take this battle to its dying breath. Losing at the Supreme Court would mean nothing at this point, but winning there would mean everything. Again, it's up to Vic. I can't make that decision or determination at this point in time.
They want to take this to the Supreme Court? For what? For what? Because people don't like the guy that you like? Are you serious? Are you fucking kidding me? And to be fair, I mean, with the current Supreme Court and the way it's kind of set up right now, if you were to bring it out, you might have a decent chance because, you know, the current Supreme Court hates women and really likes straight white guys, Christians, who are definitely very persecuted.
All right, so here we go. If the defendant movement satisfies its burden, then to avoid dismissal, the plaintiff, non-movement, in this case Vic, must establish, quote, by clear and specific evidence, which isn't actually a thing, a prima facie, on the face of it, case for each essential element of the claim in question. If the non-movement satisfies its clear and specific
What do you mean that's not a thing?
prima facie burden, the movement may still have the claims dismissed by establishing each element of a valid defense to the claims. The application of this structured burden-shifting analysis controls this case. Appellant Victor Mignogna sued appellees Monica Rial, Ronald Toye, Jamie Markey, and Funimation Productions for defamation, conspiracy, tortious interference with existing contracts, tortious interference with prospective business relations, and, as to Funimation, vicarious liability for Rial, Toye, and Markey's actions based on their postings on Twitter. Appellees moved to dismiss Mignogna's claims under the TCPA, and the trial court granted their motions. At a subsequent hearing, the trial court ordered Mignogna to pay litigation expenses and attorney's fees and impose sanctions.
After listening to Nick Reiketa, you cannot convince me that he is a lawyer, either a practiced lawyer. You can't convince me that he passed the bar. You could show me his grade and show me the paperwork and show me where he worked law, and I still wouldn't believe you, because the evidence of how absolutely he knows nothing about the legal system, for me, would circumvent any piece of paper that he has. I'm just gonna be like, that's fake, it's photoshopped, this dude's not a fucking lawyer. This guy doesn't know shit. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, by the way. I said the same thing when I was talking about fucking like 3 years ago. I was being hyperbolic.
The TCPA requires it. That's what this basically says. It requires the fee shifting that occurs. In 8 points, Mignogna appeals, claiming that the trial court erred by finding that appellant's appellee's evidence was legally and factually sufficient to satisfy their TCPA first step burden based on their evidence's lack of admissibility, by dismissing his claims, by refusing to consider his second amended petition. This is the critical one, by the way, in my opinion. And by ordering him to pay sanctions and attorney's fees. And I really do.
You don't think the Vic not being able to show clear evidence and the opposing side, meaning Funimation and Monica and Jamie and Ron, being able to show sufficient evidence isn't important?
I would suggest.
Sorry, he's not saying he's not important. He's saying it's less important than this. But I'm like, that seems like it's pretty important.
That this is the death knell to the rest. Because, as we've discussed in the past, the original complaint had some issues. The first amended complaint didn't remedy them. The second amended complaint did. Or amended petition, I should say. It, in my opinion, did remedy many of the issues that are involved here. It more clearly laid out the timeline and directly linked them to direct statements from the defendants and action.
Third time's the charm? So you admittedly fucked it up? And then until the court was like, we're not fucking around with you anymore. Fuck off.
It also included 3 affidavits. Well, technically unsworn declarations. Those were never read by the court and not considered, and those contained critical evidence about what had happened.
Then you should have put them in your initial fucking filings. Trying to add them in way after the fact just isn't how it works. That wouldn't be fair for anybody. Could you imagine if that were the case? To have fucked up, like, as if the legal system doesn't have enough fucking problems, right?
Without having.
How much you want to bet that Nick Reiketa is just mad that these people had enough money to fight this case? Like, what if they didn't? What if Monica and Jamie and Ron didn't have the money to fight this? Then what? How much would you want to bet that's just what they wanted? They thought they would just roll over. Because they had enough people going after them publicly. And then enough, like, backing, public backing with GoFundMe.
Those, it was a long shot to victory. All right. On the record before us, appellees meet their initial TCPA burden in part because Mignogna failed to preserve his complaints about their evidence, which the trial court considered along with Mignogna's allegations in his first amended petition. Stating that in determining whether...
No, nice pause, no comment on Mignogna failed to preserve his complaint, meaning the thing that they were considering, they removed from the second amended petition? The thing that you just said was so important? Is anybody paying attention? Hello?
The TCPA applies, the court initially looks to the plaintiff's allegations. And because Mignogna withdrew the principal evidence supporting his prima facie burden before the hearing on appellee's TCPA motions, he was unable to make his TCPA burden on any of appellee's claims. So what this is referring to is that there were initially 3 sworn affidavits, 3 notarized affidavits, Chris Slatosh, Vic Mignogna, and Chuck Huber. Those affidavits were notarized in error. I believe this was on the record at the court, and
Oh, is this the one you faked?
they were withdrawn due to defects in the notary, defects in form. They were replaced, which would normally not be an issue, with unsworn declarations from the same 3 people that were factually, or that were effectively identical documents. Those were attached to the second amended petition. However, since the court did not consider the second amended petition. It did not consider the 3 unsworn declarations. And since the affidavit
I don't know if anybody's noticed, but he's jumping around a lot. This is so bad.
were withdrawn, those were not considered as well. This is a big problem with what happened.
The first guy he mentioned, Chris, was the one that they argued so heftily to not have to bring in for a deposition, by the way. So if that doesn't, like, clue you in that they really needed this guy's affidavit in there and it proved a lot of stuff, and then they argued that they didn't want this guy deposed, kinda sus, right? Kinda sus. The defects inform were that he forged the signatures and Tybir said, sorry, I thought I could notarize over the phone. Yeah, the shit that they faked. Yeah.
We'll get to why the court did not consider the second amended petition.
How about you get to what the problem was in the forum? What was wrong with them? Do you think that's important? If it, like, do you not think, all right, if Nick Reiketa was being honest, and, like, what he did was cover these cases and what happens in them, regardless of whatever those things are, do you not think it would be a big deal to talk about that these documents were forged? Instead of being like, oh, well, it was an error in the way the formatting, or the form, it was just an error in the declarations, and so that was amended and signed back in again. Like, do you not think that maybe it would be a big deal if you're following a case that one side forged signatures? I know it was when I covered it. Not this one. I was covering a bit of a lawsuit once upon a time. You guys remember? Look, I made it. I did a thing. Look, I'll pull it up for you guys. Check it out. I did this. Let me go to my channel here. Let me go to my live streams over here. And let me just say, search the word match. Look. This is what I did. I live streamed this. It's just a screen recording. Do you not think that this would be kind of a big deal? Sounds familiar? Ty was way the fuck up in North Texas, and Chris was down in San Antonio in South Central Texas at an anime convention. Like, you would think that would be a big deal. You would think that would matter to somebody who is just covering a case and doesn't have any, like, personal investment in what's going on in the outcome of that case, right? You would think. You would think. I didn't mean to live stream this, by the way. I actually just meant to record it. Luckily, I didn't have a camera on. I guess I did this right after I got out of the shower. I had a towel on my head. Wasn't wearing any clothing. Whoops. See, the audio was on. You could hear it clicking. Look, it's a forged signature. It's almost like the signatures match. You can literally put them right on top of each other. You would think somebody who is covering a legal case would care if there was fraudulent shit being submitted to the court.
It's the one part of this that I really have trouble with, but it's the court's ruling. So with that,
But not trouble with the forged documents?
the trial court did not err by granting appellees TCPA motions, by imposing sanctions, or by awarding attorney's fees. We affirm this portion of the trial court's judgment. On cross appeal, they complained the trial court should have awarded them the full amount of attorney's fees they requested. Because we hold that the trial court's order on attorney's fees is against the great weight and preponderance of the evidence, we reverse this portion of the trial court's judgment and remand the case to the trial court on that issue. So this will go back on the attorney's fees, and each side will get to, in some way, litigate on the facts of the attorney's fees and whether or not they are reasonable. Monica's team will, of course, ask for more fees. Vic's team will try and counter that, and we'll see how that goes down.
So I actually did talk about this before. It's a lot of money. I don't know what the result is yet. I don't know if there is a result. I haven't seen anything yet, but I don't know if I will end up having access to that, so I don't know what the result of that is, if any, yet. But the fact that Nick Reiketa, who's so balls deep in this, never made a video about that, I think is telling.
Implication here is that they're likely to get more fees than they were originally awarded. Whether or not that matters in the end, because whether or not those fees are getting paid is a completely different question. It's one thing to be awarded something. It's an entirely different thing to collect on a judgment.
That is true.
But all of that remains to be seen. Here's the factual background. For more than a decade, Mignogna, Rial, and Markey worked as anime voice actors for Funimation, appeared together at fan conventions. During that time, various rumors about Mignogna's behavior had circulated to the point that he held a rumor panel at a 2010 fan convention to try and dispel them. This is a little bit of a stretch, but okay. Remember, they're pulling these from the petitions. They borrow this type of language from the factual basis in the petitions. More rumors resurfaced on January 16, 2019, the same day that Funimation's major anime film starring Mignogna's voice in the lead debuted. That day, someone with the Twitter handle Hanleia.
I have a question. Why did Reiketa for 30 minutes go through and give a TLDR if he was just going to read all this anyway, which is also a TLDR? Thank you. I'll play this in a minute.
Tweeted, "Hey Funimation, why do you employ a known pedophile?" with a link to allegations of sexual misconduct by Mignogna at anime conventions. Another person with the Twitter handle Actually Amelia tweeted, "How is Vic still?"
Oh, is that the tweet you were talking about? Ah, that's funny because that's not the tweet that you guys all used to hunker down on everything. It was Mars Girl's tweet that you used to kick this shit off in your first video, right here, where the first thing you talk about is fucking Mars Girl. Dipshit.
Still working in anime. Every time Assault and Fandom comes up in a conversation, no matter who I talk to, so does his name. Every time, at some point, an open secret becomes common knowledge and inaction becomes inexcusable. Interestingly, of course, none of these allegations have ever panned out. There's no allegation from an actual victim other than Monica Rial or Jamie Markey of Vic Mignogna. And there's never once been a single police report. There are no convention reports that have ever been produced that back up any of this stuff at all.
They're not obligated to. That's the stuff that would have come up if it went to court. But it didn't get to there. It didn't have to because it got thrown out on this basis. So if you wanted that evidence, your chance to get it is fucking gone and you're not entitled to that information. You're literally complaining about Me Too pushing for police reports being made on men more often and then complaining that they didn't exist at the time. Of course they didn't exist at the time. You don't need any of that stuff, by the way. You have the depositions. We have multiple convention staffers and organizations submitted affidavits. Yeah. Only Vic Mignogna's fraudulently signed affidavits count, alright? Only Vic's count. Nobody else's count. There's so many people that fucking talked about this for so many years. To just pretend it doesn't fucking exist is insane to me. Like, the level of conspiracy that Nick Reiketa is pushing over this is insane. It can't just be that Vic's kind of creep, right? Can't just be that.
It's all just conjecture.
That is not true, and that doesn't, even if it was, that doesn't mean there are not victims. It means there are people claiming to be victims. But we saw in Yellow Flash's first video about this a person with a picture and explaining the picture underneath it. He just ignored it. They all just ignored it. They demand images. They demand all of this shit. And they get it and they're like, nah, it's not real. It doesn't exist. La 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 la. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil.
But that's the way this goes. All right.
What the fuck do you mean?
Mignogna did not sue Hanlea or actually Amelia. I mean, these two people have literally nothing to take. Or any of the online magazines covering the allegations, Polygon, Anime News Network, and Gizmodo for defamation. Instead, after meeting online with his fan club and encouraging them to speak of their positive experiences with him, Mignogna posted a tweet on January 20th, issuing what he characterized as a generic apology for unintentionally offending anyone. This is one of those, fucking hell, one of those things that should never have happened. This is a thing that should not have occurred. This unintentional offending anyone, this apology bullshit. If you ever want to know why I say never apologize, this is why you do not fucking apologize.
From a legal sense, yes. That post, it would be devastating to Vic's case regardless, because he admitted to doing these things. It wasn't just the apology part. So I'm Canadian. In Canada, we actually have a provision in our laws that states that an apology is not an admission, because we say sorry all the time. So saying sorry and apologizing in Canada, you're fine. It is not considered a legal admission in court that you did anything. Yes, sorry laws. Right. However, if you actually look at Vic Mignogna's post, let me pull it up. It's in the description down below, but let me pull it up for you real quick so we can see it again. Just to refresh our memory about what this jackass is saying. Hold on, uno momento. Give to me, please. Oh, it's not. No, it is. It's, no, wait, no, it's not. Why isn't it here? Hold on, it's not in the description. Uno momento, por favor. Is it in this one? Where are you? Here it is. This one. This one. And in it, no, not the link. Open image in new tab. There you go. Let me just, oh god, it's terrible. Why does it look like that? Whatever, anyway. That looks worse. Let's just zoom it in here, see if that's better. Yeah. That is not better. Alright, well. This is the best you get. This is heartbreaking. Over the past few days, a number of comments and allegations have been voiced on social media. I'd like to share my thoughts. Homophobic? No. Yes. Yes. He has definitely shown that he is absolutely homophobic and has been the entire time. So this was a lie. You can, if you're not sure about that, go look at his videos or even look at my coverage of him being on Alex Stein. Some of my dearest friends are members of the LGBTQ community. Oh yes, I have a gay friend. I can't be homophobic. Including several that I brought into my production family on Star Wars Continues. Irrelevant. This is a blatantly false statement. It is a blatantly true statement. I have said many years ago that I didn't think a particular character I voiced was gay, contrary to what some fans believed. Not because it mattered to me at all, well, clearly it did, but because I was told this was the case. I also elected, well, were you told or did you believe that? What are you talking about? I also elected not to autograph Yowie, not because I am homophobic, but because I didn't wish to sign material that was not canon. That's bullshit. That was a bullshit excuse. You don't like gay people. Anti-Semitic, I couldn't even grasp where this was coming from until someone pointed me to a moment years ago where I was on panel and referred to a bunch of noise coming from another room and jokingly as a Holocaust. As I said then, it was a metaphor for Armageddon, death, and mass destruction, not the Holocaust. Yeah, we know what that means. Could I have chosen a different word? Sure, in retrospect I could have, and of course I am sorry if that offended anybody. I sincerely apologize to any convention staff member who ever felt I was anything less than kind and grateful to be included in their event. Okay, let's take the apology out of this. Let's take out the I sincerely apologize. Let's pretend he didn't say that. If he just said, unknown to most staffers, contractual arrangements made in advance with cons were occasionally not honored when I arrived, and that made me frustrated. That does not excuse making anyone feel badly. So he admits that he made people feel bad, and because he was frustrated that cons didn't do shit for him because he was a prima donna. Simple as that. That even if you take out the I apologize and the I'm sorry part, right? Add in here, would also like to sincerely apologize. Let's take that out. Anyone who ever felt that my interaction with them, a hug or a kiss on the cheek on the forehead, was crossing a line. So he's admitting that he was hugging and kissing people on the cheek or on the forehead that didn't want him to. Never in a million years would it be my intent to make anyone feel uncomfortable, sure. Rather, it was meant to show gratitude or support. So he admits that he did this without their consent. I come from an affectionately expressive family where such displays are commonplace. Great, your fan base isn't your family, that's toxic as fuck, you need to stop. But I understand that not everyone feels the same way. So you knew you were doing it without people's consent. All right. Hence, I will not be interacting the same way with fans in the future. I understand this is the climate we live in, and this is how it has to be. To my fans who ask for hugs, etc., sorry, but please know that I am no less grateful for supporting of you. Literally, nobody said you can't hug fans. They said you need consent to do so. You're an idiot. Finally, any allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, or more disturbingly pedophilia are completely and utterly false. My heart weeps for anyone who endures such a violation of this kind, so to be accused of harming others in that way, I have no words. But that's all he says about that part. So he admits to fucking kissing people who didn't want to be kissed, and then and some of whom were underage, and then he's just like, sexual harassment and pedophilia, how? Like, you literally just admitted to it, dude. You literally just admitted to kissing underage people. Because the people that were making these allegations, some of them said they were underage at the time, and some of them have photos that back that up. So even if you remove the apology part of this statement, it's still an admission, and this is disregarding the deposition. So fuck off, Nick, you dipshit.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It will not help you. Funimation, its parent company,
don't admit to doing the things when you did the things? Oh, okay. Yes, thank you. Don't touch people without their consent. Don't touch people. Don't touch people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do all these men, why are all of these men, Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy, Nick Reiketa, why are all these men and their supporters obsessed with the idea that they should just be able to touch people? Why do they want to touch people so much? Stop touching people. What the fuck? What is wrong with you? This isn't a hard concept. Don't touch people. What the fuck? Why do you want to touch people so bad, you fucking weirdos?
began an investigation and terminated Mignogna's contract on January 29th. Again, one of the facts that was not allowed to come out of this case is that the investigation into the allegations had nothing to do with any of the allegations that were actually made. The investigation conducted by Funimation involved 3 separate instances. First, that Vic Mignogna walked into Funimation Studios, went into the room of an employee, and kissed her. Now, Vic has talked about this. This is a person whom he had taken on several dates, had extensive conversations with, and asked permission to kiss her for a year.
Oh, yeah? He kept asking to kiss her for a whole year? She keeps saying no? What a weird way to say that, but all right.
This person is also not the person who made the complaint to Funimation, and Funimation did not interview said person, who is no longer at the company. Instead, Funimation asked Monica Rial about this event that she was not present at. That was step 1 of the investigation. Step 2 of the investigation was an allegation about 2 twins that Vic Mignogna allegedly propositioned for some sort of adult fun time. These were adult twins who had spent
soliciting twins for sex is incest and still illegal in the majority of states. Actually, I think it's all states. I think we went and checked last time and it was all states and territories with like some additional caveats, but all the other details that came out proved he already had this reputation. He was trying to say the accusation caused his reputation to worsen, but no, his reputation was already shit. Yes, his reputation was already shit.
5 straight conventions.
By the way, Vic believed they were of age, and they happened to be of age, but he did not check to see if they were of age. That was an afterthought, not a current thought at the time.
Going to visit.
Also, if you listen to the deposition, sorry, I'll click him back, but also if you listen to the deposition, Vic admits to stalking them around the convention. He, like, followed them around. Like a fucking creep.
Sort of adult fun time. These were adult twins who had spent 5 straight conventions going to visit Vic, and in the intervening time had emailed Vic pictures of themselves dressed in either cosplay or other clothing that said things like, "We love you, we can't wait to see you," etc., etc. When they came to visit him at a convention, he invited them to his room. They came to his room. When he said, "Hey, were you looking to do anything?" They said no. And he said, "Okay, well then that's cool. You can leave then." And that was the end of it. This, of course,
I like how he completely ignores that the women said they didn't know why he invited them to his room. According to Vic. Like, there's so many, like, he just breezes over all these fucking creepy-ass details as if it's, like, either nothing, doesn't exist, or isn't weird and creepy as hell. Why are you getting fucking email, like, what? Regardless, right? This is still not necessarily appropriate for a workplace. Even if the Vic Mignogna kissing or making out with another employee in a conference room is not appropriate workplace behavior, even if it is consensual. That's what the fuck. Like, even if you take out all of, like, the extra weirdo stuff, this is still not appropriate behavior. The twins also said he was really aggressive about asking for it despite their protest and forced a kiss onto both of them before he let them go. Right. Hello? Like, hello? What you just said a minute ago. Nick just said there was no evidence and no things brought forward about any of this shit, and now he's talking about these twins. That not only is evidence from themselves, but also from Vic confirming. So, what the fuck, dude? You just said there was none.
Course, was also not reported by the 2 fans, nor were they interviewed by Funimation. Instead, Monica Rial was interviewed about this instance.
Why would Funimation reach out for, like, an internal... What, do you know what the word internal investigation means? Funimation isn't the police! What the fuck are you talking about? Unfucking believable.
And the third allegation that was investigated by Funimation, this is according to Funimation, but the third allegation investigated by Funimation was Vic was sitting at a convention table next to Monica Rial. They both had their artist tables. And on her table was a bowl of jelly beans, or on Vic's table was a bowl of jelly beans. I think it was on one of them, had a bowl of jelly beans. Monica Rial took the jelly bean from the bowl, signed her name or initials on it. It's a jelly bean, so I imagine just her initials, because even those are fat. And then she threw the bean to Vic Mignogna. When he got the Sharpie signed jelly bean, he promptly put it in his mouth and ate it. When someone freaked out and said, "Aren't you worried you'll get sick from the Sharpie ink?" he said, "No, because at least I can say I've eaten Monica Rial."
He said this in public to fans in an official capacity as an employee for Funimation, or a contractor from Funimation, to another employee slash contractor at Funimation. Yes, this is an HR issue. What? Why are you talking about these things like they're normal? This is not normal behavior. Vika behavior is not normal. That's fucking weird and creepy, especially for coming from somebody you do not like and have to work with, such as the relationship between these two individuals that we're talking about. It's fucking weird. That is sexually charged language and implication in front of an audience directed at a coworker. That is 100% an HR violation. Of course he had his contract revoked. The dude is unhireable. Monica also said during her deposition that he did this while grabbing her face and pulling her close to his face like a fucking weirdo. Yes, she also said that. I remember seeing that in the deposition. So she made that claim as well. All of these men think this behavior is normal or want this behavior to be normal. And it's behavior that they would do. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you've been supporting Nick Reiketa through this, and you've been supporting that Umbrella guy through this, and you've been supporting Yellow Flash through this, and you've been supporting Vic Mignogna through this entire situation, I think you're probably a predator. Like, I think you're probably, like, somebody who would or has sexually harassed women or others in the past or in the future. You would, because you're only defending this behavior because it's something you think that is okay, and this behavior is not okay. And the fact that you think this behavior is okay means that you would be willing to do it, or you think it's fine that people are doing it. You're the problem. You doing this, you supporting this, you are the problem. And you need to recognize that you're the problem, and you need to recognize why you're the problem, because this behavior is not normal. This behavior is not appropriate, especially in a workplace. You have to have a very specific type of relationship with somebody for this type of banter to be acceptable. And if you don't know if you have that type of relationship with somebody, assume you don't. It's that simple. It's that fucking simple. It is that straightforward. This is not complicated. How am I supposed to know? Learn to interact like an adult. That's how you learn to know. If you really don't know, and you really do not think you can understand these very, very basic concepts of consent, and the very, very basic concept of just normal, basic social interaction, take a class. Go to YouTube and learn how to talk to people by looking up like a 101 class about like social interactions from a reputable source. Not Andrew Tate. Like an actual like education channel. Like, what in the flying fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with all of you? How many people liked this video? 4,000 people thought this was okay and acceptable? What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't take social advice from fucking Asmongold, alright?
That apparently right there was years later determined to be a sexually harassing statement by Monica Rial, and she would talk about that with Funimation. Those are the 3 instances that were investigated by Funimation, and that was sufficient for his termination.
Yes, that is sufficient for termination. That is absolutely sufficient for termination of a contract. 100%. And that explains why you didn't go for tortious interference between Funimation and Monica and Jamie and Ron. Because it was unrelated. Go fucking figure.
Allegations made online, the allegations that were made online by Monica Rial and Jamie Markey were not part of Funimation's investigation, nor were they investigated, nor were they the basis of his termination. Ever. But of course, this is one of those facts that could have come out at trial with discovery. but the TCPA shuts down discovery. So there you go. That's that. Funimation commented about Mignogna's termination in a tweet on February 11th. During the Mignogna-related social media maelstrom between January and February 2019, Rial Markey and Rial's fiancée Toye published some tweets, like 400 tweets, as did Mignogna.
Yeah, 400 tweets.
Like 4 tweets, whose fans paid into a
He's so unreasonably, like, ridiculously biased for no reason. Like, 400 tweets is also not a lot, by the way, especially if you're having conversations about a topic. So, especially at the time, the character limit on Twitter was even shorter.
GoFundMe account, Vic Kicks Back, set up by Nick Reiketa on February 19th to cover Mignogna's litigation expenses. That's true. There you go. Hey, I'm in the document. Mignogna sued Funimation, Rial, Toye, and Markey in April of 2019. Is it what? By the time the attorney's fees hearing in November 2019, Mignogna's GoFundMe account contained $261,700. Okay, that's the footnote. I wanted to see what the footnote was. So the procedural complaints. Did they misspell my name? They did. Ah! Even a court can't do it. You look for competence in the legal system and you never fucking find it.
You don't deserve the respect of the court to have your name spelled correctly.
R.I.P. to me. Fucking hell. You know, all I want is a little recognition.
I think that little chunk very clearly defines what Reiketa's position is about this and why he cares. I'm gonna jump ahead to this big spike here. I want to see what the hell he's talking about. Oh, this is somebody joins. I don't care about that. Never mind.
All right. Procedural complaints. We begin with Mignogna's procedural complaints because they are dispositive of his appeal. So the procedural complaints are what we'll do it in.
Have you noticed that he hasn't actually broken anything down or explained anything? All he's doing is reading this out and then throwing, like, and then trying to twist it and make it sound like Vic's still, like, the justified one. All he's doing is, like, throwing, what's the word I'm looking for? Incredulity at it. Yeah, that's Ty Beard joining. I don't know if I want to, I'm thinking about maybe going to when he's done the document and then stopping, because, like, do I care what Ty Beard has to say? I don't think, do we? Do we care?
And this is going to be,
you tell me.
Again, the main thing is going to be that second amended petition. Would the second amended petition have gotten him through the appeal? We don't know. But there's a pretty clear indication that it would have gone a little bit better. All right.
He switched to boobs.
We review most procedural complaints for an abuse of discretion. A trial court abuses its discretion if it acts without reference to any guiding rules or principles. That is, if its act is arbitrary or unreasonable. Court's failure to analyze or apply law correctly is an abuse of discretion. The abuse of discretion standard governs amended petitions and evidentiary rulings. In contrast, a trial court generally has a ministerial duty to enforce a Rule 11 agreement once it exercises its discretion to determine the agreement's validity. And this is where I will disagree with the court a little bit. I still do not believe that the second amended petition is covered in any way by the Rule 11 agreement. And I think that to state that it is an error. This is my big problem with this.
Okay, why?
With this appeal decision right here. It was also, the main thing I focused on was this second amended petition. I mean, I thought that's the most critical issue. And I do not think it's within the Rule 11 agreement. The court will disagree with me here.
Okay, why? Why don't you think it's within the rule, though? What about it is outside that you don't know? You're just making shit up.
So where there is a valid Rule 11 agreement that is not subject to any exception, such as fraud or mistake, the trial court has a ministerial duty to enforce its terms. So Mignogna's late filed second amended petition. In his sixth point, Mignogna argues that the trial court erred by not considering his second amended petition and its attachments in deciding whether he had met his burden to defeat Appellee's TCPA motions. Can personally this would have been my first point of appeal and would have had the most time devoted to it, because I think it's the most important. I think the court agrees that it's the most important point, which is why they raise it first. Funimation filed its TCPA motion on July 1st, 2019. Real, Toei, and Marquee filed theirs on July 19th. The motions were originally set for hearing on August 8th, but the parties agreed to move the hearing to September 6th to allow Mignogna more time to respond. On August 6th, the parties signed a Rule 11 agreement.
They agreed to give Mignogna more time, and he still couldn't get his shit together.
Wherein they agreed that Mignogna would file his response to the TCPA motion by August 30th. See Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 11. So Rule 11 simply states that within a lawsuit, parties can basically contract, following the rules of contract, they can agree to just about anything. They can make an agreement between parties, and that agreement becomes enforceable by the judge. So in this case, they said, we want more time to file. We'll file by August 30th, the response to the TCPA motion, and that'll be the end of it. And everybody agreed to that. That's the Rule 11 agreement. According to the subsequently filed plaintiff's motion for leave to file late response to defendant's TCPA motions to dismiss due to technical issues, Mignogna's counsel unsuccessfully attempted to file Mignogna's TCPA response just after midnight on Saturday, August 31st. He successfully...
So he failed to honor their agreement. Saturday, August 31st. Not even the 30th. So why is that everyone else's problem? Why are Jamie and Funimation and... Well, actually, not. They don't even bother with Funimation. Why is Jamie a bad person? Why is Monica a bad person? Why is Ron a bad person? Because Vic failed to file on time.
Fully served Marchie's counsel, however, who asked him to provide
a time that he agreed to.
Of all notary book pages for the notarizations performed by him on August 30th, the date that the affidavits of Mignogna, Chuck Huber, and Christopher Slatosh, which were attached to Mignogna's TCPA response, were signed according to Mignogna's counsel's notary stamp. At 9:04 a.m. on September 2nd, Real and Toei's counsel asked Mignogna's for an explanation of how Mignogna, Huber, and Slatosh could have signed their affidavits in his presence when none of them were in Tyler with him on August 30th. Mignogna's counsel...
Hey, that's a really good point. How was he able to sign that when they were in different parts of the state?
Successfully filed the TCPA response at midnight on September 3rd, the day after Labor Day, along with a motion for leave to file a late response due to technical issues. In addition to the 3 affidavits described above, Mignogna's counsel attached to the TCPA motion the depositions of Mignogna, Real, and Toei, along with 342 tweets that were attached as exhibits to Toei's deposition, the unsworn declaration of EM, a convention representative who wrote the declaration in response to statements about her by the CEO of KawaiiCon Convention, whose affidavit was attached to Real and Toei's TCPA motion, and an affidavit by Sandalin regarding his recollection, none, of an incident involving Mignogna that Real had described as having occurred at the November 2007 AzumiCon, a total of 8 exhibits. All right, so there was a technical issue. We talked about this when it happened. There was a technical issue in which the response was delayed by like an hour or something like that, and everything was filed. It says his counsel filed the TCPA response at midnight on September 3rd.
Maybe don't wait till the last minute to do everything.
It's not entirely accurate. It was filed right away on September 1st, just after midnight. But the way the Texas filing system labels things, it labels them as coming in when the system comes online on the next Monday. But
then it is absolutely even more accurate than what you said. Duh, because the filing doesn't... If it's not in the system, it's not filed. Like, what the fuck are you even trying to say? Vic Mignogna's deposition is the one with Vic's fucked up forged signature with Vic combined with the typed out TOR. Yeah, we looked at that. That was goofy as fuck.
That being said, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so here's what it says. As pointed out by Real and Toei's appellate counsel, although Mignogna's counsel informed the trial court that his TCPA response was late because of technical issues, the response itself was rife with missing citations, incomplete arguments, and other errors. And that was not a great document, by the way. Not a great document at all.
I like how he can't say bad. He has to say it's not a great document. No, it was a piece of shit.
He simultaneously filed a second amended petition containing 20 new paragraphs of factual allegations. To the second amended petition, he attached 17 exhibits, which he described as prima facie evidence sufficient to prove each element of each claim, and referenced the exhibits in 18 of the petition's paragraphs.
Sorry, right, the affidavit, not the deposition.
9 of the 17 exhibits contained evidence that was not attached to the TCPA response. The remaining 8 exhibits consisted of 3 unsworn declarations, Mignogna, Huber, and Slatosh, with the same contents as their affidavits, the 3 depositions, EM's unsworn declaration, and Dahlon's affidavits. So that was the attempt to file the second amended petition. 45 minutes after filing a TCPA response and second amended petition, Mignogna's counsel replied to opposing counsel's September 2nd affidavit inquiry, stating that he would withdraw the 3 affidavits and that they had been mistakenly submitted with defects in form. He filed a notice of withdrawal of the affidavits around half an hour later.
You mean he got busted trying to forge shit?
At the TCPA hearing on September 6th, his counsel stated that he had filed the second amended petition after opposing counsel notified him of the defective affidavits. I don't remember this, but I'll take their word for it. Appellees objected to Mignogna's late filing of his TCPA response, the filing of a second amended petition to the attempted late.
You don't remember the stuff about, like, the worst document submit? Like, there was, I think it was called the Thread Knot. There was, like, a huge thread on Twitter of a bunch of lawyers from around the world fucking reading that shit, and they were laughing their asses off about how incompetent it was.
Late submission of evidence, citing surprise in their mutually agreed August 30 deadline. Now, importantly, the August 30th deadline was literally for the TCPA response, according to the Rule 11 agreement. And this is where my big disagreement comes in with the Court of Appeals here. The Rule 11 agreement does not cover any submissions of evidence or of the second amended petition. It's literally the TCPA response itself. And what the court will do here is say that these things are this, even though this is a different thing than those things.
Is it? Are they? What does the TCPA response look like? Does it not include citations? If it doesn't include citations, why were you trying to submit citations and evidence with it and then just failed? Like, what are you even talking about? He's just so full of shit.
Ambulance Changer says, you forget, huh? How convenient. Yes, it was literally 3 years ago, and I do not remember that specific thing being said in court. Whether or not he said that he filed it after they notified him of the defective affidavits. I do not remember if that was specifically said. I don't remember it. But it said also that I'll take the court's word for it. I'm not disagreeing. I just don't remember that. And I would be surprised if you would. But okay. Was Ty slacking, or is this normal mistakes? I would not call these normal mistakes. I don't know that Ty was slacking or not. But I'm not here to defend Ty Beard or speak on behalf of his firm. If he wants to do that, that's up to him.
Oh, is that why he comes up later to talk about it?
Like, that's... I'm here to talk about what happened here in this document and to call out bad things when they're bad and good things when they're good. I said the TCPA response
was... Which is definitely what you're doing, yeah, huh?
It was a mess. It was really bad. But I also believe that the second amended petition was a good document, and I believe that the second amended petition is outside of the Rule 11 agreement. So I think they got hosed on that. I think they got hosed on it in the courthouse as well. But
he still hasn't exactly explained why he believes they're outside of the Rule 11. The closest thing he's gotten to explaining why he believes that is by saying that the amended petition is not part of the TCPA response, but he hasn't explained how they're not the same thing.
I mean, the court doesn't agree, so that's my opinion there. Funimation also argued that under Rules of Civil Procedure 59, Mignogna cannot attempt to meet his evidentiary burden by attaching evidence to a second amended petition.
Yep.
So then they've got...
What? No thoughts on that one there, bud? That you can't do that, and that's not how it works? No, Mr. Lawyer? Okay.
Citations that they put in here, allowing parties to only make certain items, notes, accounts, bonds, mortgage records, and other written instruments constituting in whole or in part a claim or defense, part of the pleadings by attaching them to the petition or answer. But I mean, all of the written incidents constituting in whole or part a claim or defense. I mean, the argument that was made in court was that these were written instruments. The judge was skeptical, saying that the instruments used here was a more technical term of an instrument, like a financial document, whatever that means.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Doesn't matter because it wasn't actually considered. The second amended petition was not there. Reviewing TCPA non-movements, live pleadings, and exhibits incorporated therein when movements failed to object. Okay, I'm not sure why that's there, but all right. In the ruling on the TCPA motions, the trial court granted Mignogna's motion to late file the TCPA response and deemed it timely filed, but stated that because Mignogna had withdrawn the 3 affidavits, it did not consider them or any evidence attached to the second amended petition. And this is the death knell right there.
Exactly. He withdrew his evidence and then tried to submit extra shit after the fact. That's his fault. That's his lawyer's fault. If Vic Mignogna really wanted to continue any kind of legal battle, which he did initially claim that he wanted to do, then he should be going after Nick Reiketa and Ty Beard for mishandling his case.
It didn't consider the 3 affidavits or any evidence attached to the second amended petition. And without that evidence, you weren't going to present evidence that you had been defamed. Like that just wasn't going to happen.
Correct. You needed to submit that when you were supposed to submit it in the way that it was supposed to be submitted. You can't just willy-nilly throw shit at the court. There are rules.
Mignogna's remaining TCPA evidence consisted of the depositions, which in my opinion actually should have been sufficient, EM's declaration, and Dahlon's affidavit. The record reflects that Mignogna essentially, see, this I don't agree with personally. I don't think the record actually reflects this, but again, the court can disagree with me. That's fine. They get to win. Essentially tried to use an amended pleading as a late TCPA response to remedy his lack of evidence and thereby avoid the party's Rule 11 agreement deadline. I don't think this is true at all.
Yes, Vic had his mountain of evidence and then never presented it to the court and then tried to submit it later. Sounds familiar. Yeah. Yup, sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
I think that a Rule 11 agreement on filing a TCPA response is one thing. I think a second amended petition is a completely different thing.
Hey, you know what? By the way, literally nothing was stopping Vic Mignogna or Reiketa or that umbrella guy or Yellow Flash from taking the arguments and evidence that he was not able to submit in court and putting them into a YouTube video and posting it. Nothing's stopping them from doing that. They're the ones that gathered the evidence for him in the first place. They admitted to that.
But that's my personal opinion. The trial court has a ministerial duty to enforce a valid Rule 11 agreement, and Mignogna did not argue in the trial court or in this appeal that the party's Rule 11 agreement setting a deadline for the TCPA response and therefore evidence was invalid. See, this and therefore evidence isn't part of the Rule 11 agreement. The TCPA response is in the 11 agreement, and therefore evidence, I would disagree that that's part of the Rule 11.
If you tried to submit the evidence after the fact by shoving it into your TCPA response, then yes it is. Dumbass.
11 agreement. I don't think so. The court reads that in, but it's not in the express terms of the Rule 11 agreement.
Yeah, if Vic didn't try to shove it in with the response. If Vic didn't try to do that, then sure, maybe, but he did, and you have to deal with the facts of the matter.
See, where do I have that? I don't know if I have that anymore. I don't know. I haven't looked at all this stuff in so long. I don't know where the fucking Rule 11 agreement covering any other evidence or anything like that. It was pretty limited, if I remember right, specifically to the TCPA response, and it was expressed. Rage DMX47 says testify. Okay. What am I testifying to? And then the let's see, Mr. Armageddon says this is a complete loss, at least legally. Do you still think Vic made the right choice? Is Vic better off now? Yes. I still think Vic is better off than when he started all of this. Yes. However,
he owes so much money. Mars Girl said, I love the part of the last hearing where the judge asks, quote, so you don't have any evidence these people were lying / committing tortious interference, end quote. And Tybir just says, no, Your Honor. Yep.
I would hope that he would be in a better off place than he is now. Outcome bias is a real thing. Let's hope the benefits outweigh the costs. I same with Vic. You'll never know, right? Like, who knows what would have happened if he had not filed the lawsuit. I think it was the right move. But you're right. Outcome bias is a real thing. He lost. That sucks. Does that mean that the fight, he shouldn't have had it? I don't know about that.
If Vic wanted the best outcome, he should have A, not listened to YouTube lawyers and chuds on the internet trying to profiteer off of his situation, and 2, hired a PR manager immediately. The first thing he should have done was hire a PR agent. That would have been the smartest thing. And you know what? He would have owed less money. It would have cost him less. His reputation would be better, and he'd probably still be able to at least get work. 3, a bunch of people wouldn't have been harassed to hell and back. This could have been easily and simply resolved by Vic Mignogna having a little bit of self-awareness and just hiring a fucking PR manager. He could have hired me and I would have done a better job. Fucking Christ.
Let's see. Accordingly, we hold that the trial court did not abuse its discretion by refusing to consider Mignogna's second amended petition attachments filed in violation of the Rule 11 agreement. Again, I have a hard time saying they're filed in violation of the Rule 11 agreement. This is my main disagreement.
He still has not explained how or why he disagrees with this, just that he does.
He's entered a Rule 11 agreement whereby the defendant agreed to delay the hearing on its motion to compel, so long as the plaintiff filed his response to the motion at least 1 week before the hearing. Plaintiff did not file his response until 1 day before the hearing, and the defendant sought to enforce the Rule 11 agreement at the hearing. The Supreme Court held that neither the trial court nor the Court of Appeals should have considered an affidavit filed in violation of the Rule 11 agreement. But see, this is a different case where the exact thing that was supposed to happen, or wasn't supposed to happen, did happen. Citing easy pawn for the proposition that when affidavits are filed late in violation of Rule 11 agreement on deadlines, and the opposing party seeks enforcement of the agreement in trial court, neither the trial court nor the Court of Appeals can consider the affidavits. Because the trial court did not abuse its discretion by excluding Mignogna.
They literally just explained why they could not accept the evidence because of when and how it was presented. Nick Reiketa has no issue with this. He didn't pause to talk there and explain why that's not right, or why it shouldn't be, or why it's not fair.
The second amended petition is being in violation of the party's Rule 11 agreement. We need not address Mignogna's alleged Rule 59 violation. We overrule Mignogna's 6th point. So this was the 59 violation that's alleged, is that he couldn't attach those documents to the second amended complaint as well. So the big issues here, the bad notaries on the affidavits, huge issue, big problem, really should not have occurred at all.
Wow, good job. I'm glad you, an hour and 30 minutes into this, managed to get that out there. Good job.
Whether or not those would have saved it, I don't know. Because remember, the TCPA response was not a good
literally had no case without them. That was his evidence.
Document. The second amended petition was a better document all around for the whole case. Second amended petition would have been great as the original complaint. However, I think the second amended petition had a lot of information that had come up after the initial filing as well. So I'm not saying that it could have been written in the same way at the beginning, but just it should have been the operative document. It would have been a better document than anything else. But c'est la vie. That's not the way it worked out. And is that on Ty? Maybe it is. I don't know who else it would be on in this case.
You said you were working with Ty. You said you were gathering information and getting information from your fan base. You're the one who sent your fucking goons out to go stalk people around and screenshot all their shit and email it to you. What do you mean?
The notary thing's a big problem, and then the inability to get that second amended petition on. While I disagree with the court's reasoning on the Rule 11 agreement.
And Fiendline says the second amended petition was still insufficient. It never would have been accepted. Yeah, they mentioned in this filing that the second amended petition was already like the stuff that was in the first petition was removed from the second one, and thus did not meet the burden. So they already went over how it already wouldn't have been accepted regardless.
Agreement. The solution would have just been to have that second amended petition filed prior to August 30th. Could they have done it? I don't know. I'm not in their office. Why it took to the point that it took, I have no idea. I have no idea why anything happened the way it did. What I do know is that the way it happened.
What do you mean you have no idea that anything happened the way that it happened? You've been part of this the whole time. You instigated it. You've been following it. You made like 100 videos. You have no, I don't know how this happened.
Happened is a big part of why this didn't work out. At least at this point. Had it gone past this, we don't know what would have happened. Had that part of the analysis been different, we don't know that he still would have passed appeal. But it seems like he would have had a better shot. Can they file for reconsideration? Yes, they can. Wasn't there a recent law change in Texas? I don't know. There was substantive law change in Texas. If I were going to file reconsideration on this, this is where I would focus. I would focus on that Rule 11 agreement personally, because I do think it's the critical element of the case. What I think would happen if you file for reconsideration on that Rule 11 agreement and try and get the second amended petition in, they'll say, okay, the second amended petition comes in, but it's a violation of Rule 59 and those affidavits can't be attached, and therefore there's still insufficient evidence. I think that's how it would go, personally.
So you still know that it wouldn't fucking fly regardless. So then why have you been talking it up for 30 minutes? Even if what you were saying was correct, it would still be wrong.
Does that mean you shouldn't try? No. But I think that's the outcome. Oh, you've got a link to the Rule 11 agreement in my DMs. Let's see what it says.
I'm just gonna skip this.
Agreement in full. All right. So, counsel, under Rule 11 of the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, this will confirm our agreement regarding scheduling matters related to defendant's motion to dismiss under the TCPA. Parties agree to the following. Plaintiff will file his responses to the TCPA motions and any objections/motions to strike on or before August 30th. Defendant will file their replies and any evidentiary objections in support of their TCPA motions and any objections/motions to strike on or before September 3rd, 2019. Hearings for defendant's motions to dismiss and any party's objections, motion to strikes, to the extent the court determines that it needs to hear arguments.
On the first note, they failed. Good job.
On any party's objections/motions to strike are set for September 2019. Disagreement and email a copy back to. That's. I don't think the court's right on that, but the court and their citation doesn't have anything to do with incorporating other things into a contract. But Haywick says you have to argue under abusive, other than we said so. But that's that. There you go.
I'm sorry, he just said that the court's only reasoning is that because they said so. That's just not true. They're laying it out right here.
Haywick says you have to argue under abusive discretion standard, so you lose. Right? Yeah, I guess. Although there's no legal basis to include it in the agreement, other than we said so. But that's that. There you go.
Okay, you'll notice he's only had 1 point this whole time, and he still hasn't explained why.
Trial court's evidentiary rulings. In his 7th point, Mignogna enrobes his TCPA sufficiency complaint about Appellee's motions within his argument that the trial court should have struck Funimation Real and Toei's evidence. However, he ignores that in her TCPA motion, Markey incorporated and adopted by reference all the evidence attached by Funimation and by Real and Toei to their respective TCPA motions to prove Mignogna's status as a public figure and that their respective statements were made on a matter of public concern. Mignogna did not object to Markey's evidence or to her incorporation, that adoption of the other party's evidence, and he does not complain about Markey's evidence on appeal. So, I guess because he objected to it there, but not in the other place, then it doesn't count. Then he didn't object.
Correct. That's how bureaucracy works. You need to fucking put that in your submission, you dipshit. It's a new filing. God damn it.
I guess. Okay. That is, Mignogna argues that the trial court considered inadmissible evidence in determining that he was a public figure and in determining that Funimation Real and Toei's tweets related to a public controversy under the TCPA. Including in definition matter of public concern for purposes of TCPA applicability, that an issue relates to a public figure. Again, I think the public figure doctrine is garbage, but I think Vic being a public figure is not the hardest case to make under the law. I don't think he should be a public figure, but he seems to be one.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to demonstrate that Vic Mignogna is a public figure, sure.
Hey, what's up, Good Logic? How you doing, brother? Welcome to the Good Logic viewers. Because Markey's evidence and Mignogna's own evidence generally establishes public figure status in the matters of public concern, the error, if any, was harmless. We overrule Mignogna's 7th point without reaching the merits of his evidentiary arguments. Because Mignogna raises no other challenge to whether appellees met their initial TCPA burden, we consider that burden established for our analysis. And of course, they met their initial TCPA burden. To me, that was a foregone conclusion anyway. You're almost never going to show that it's not an exercise of your right to free speech and free association. That's like almost never going to win.
What? 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 So then why are you? Then why would? Then why would you? What? So you knew that they were going to be able to get this thrown out anti-slap-wise, and the fact that you believe that you're all, like, then what would... My brain... The guy who played the titular character in a movie that actually did really well in the box office in 2019, you want him to not be considered a public figure? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck Nick Reiketa's fucking deal is. Like, it's just like, well, if it doesn't work for me right this very second, this is level 0 thought process. He's just saying whatever he thinks sounds good to him right at that second, because he thinks it's going to work. Like he's not thinking, he's just saying things I should say this is level 1. This is level 1, where he's just saying what he thinks sounds good at the time. He's not considering that there's other people in the conversation. He's not considering time exists. He's not considering these concepts and how they interact with anything else, or anything he's said in the past, or anything he's going to say in the future. He's just saying what he thinks. He's running a script about what he thinks sounds good at the time. There is no further fucking thought happening here. It is not currently his turn with the brain cell.
Let's see. Beyond his evidentiary complaints in his 7th point, Mignogna does not challenge the applicability of the TCPA to his defamation claim based on appellee's statements. As pointed out by Real and Toya in their appellate brief, Mignogna's brief barely mentions step 1 of the TCPA analysis, presumably because his petition, together with the evidence and affidavit, show unequivocally that he sued appellees for engaging in 2 prongs of protected communications, the right to associate and speak freely. I mean, I disagree with that point. The record reflects that the TCPA applies to appellee's statements in that all of the statements.
You can't really disagree that Vic didn't argue something that he didn't argue.
Of which Mignogna complained his first amended petition were made in a public forum, Twitter, to the anime community and other voice actors about matters of health and safety. Mignogna's alleged inappropriate sexual behavior with fans, including underage fans, convention workers, and voice actors as part of a public discussion involving the anime and voice actor community. Again, I don't think there was any way you were going to get around the public figure doctrine. I think public figure doctrine is too broad and generally is unconstitutional. But I mean, they made the statements in public.
Why is it unconstitutional? Why? Tell me why. You keep saying you disagree with these things, and then never explain on what grounds.
They're talking about this issue. He
It
responds
is
to the
broad,
issue,
I'll give you
something
that.
he should not have done. And unfortunately, that's the way it's going to go. Kai says, so Vic was accused of what exactly? That's a really, really tough question to answer. It's a really tough question to answer.
What? You went to court over this. You did a GoFundMe and got your family lawyer hired for this. What do you mean you don't know what he was actually even accused of? How? No wonder your court documents are complete garbage, trash, stupid bullshit. You don't even know what the fuck he's being accused of. Yeah. God fucking damn it. It's a really hard thing to answer what we went to court for and what. Who made that comment? Who said that? Where is that hold on. Who said that? Where is it? Where are you? Kai, you person, you win. You win this entire thing. Good job, Kai. Whoever you are, if you're out here ever watching this in the future, I applaud you, sir, madam, or otherwise identified. Good job. Honestly, Vic might be a victim of these guys. These guys and his own hubris. Yes, I would agree with that. Holy shit. They didn't swindle Vic so much as they swindled Vic's fan base. In my humble opinion. But holy shit, dude. I don't know. That's a really hard question to answer. This is like when Dapper Dino got Kent Hovind, the owner of Dinosaur Adventureland, to say that he doesn't know what a dinosaur is. This is like when Erin said that she reached out to me and gave me court paperwork that was supposed to be private, that contained private information for a private court case, so that I wouldn't show up as a witness. We're just gonna admit that we have no idea what we were talking about. Our entire case was superfluous, and the whole thing was a grift to make money. Where do you go with this? That's it. We're done. It's over. Goodbye. Hey, Umbrella Guy. Hey, Yellow Flash. Hey, Vic Mignogna. Are any of you going to fucking address this at all? I'm gonna jump over. We've been live for 3 hours. I'm gonna jump over. I'm gonna play this real quick. This is a clip. The clip was made 5 months ago. The original stream is from, bless this person in their original link, from 9 months ago. This is on February of 2024, right? So I'm gonna just play the clip real quick, and I guess this is his most recent statement on the matter. Let me make sure he's normal speed. Yeah, he's normal speed. Thank you, Tom, by the way, for sending this to me.
Killer King says, still not talking about Vic. Well, I've heard something about an order for Vic to pay, which he already had a judgment. So if you really want to talk about the order for Vic to pay, there you go. There's a judgment, and now he's ordered to pay. Not much. I don't know anything about the case anymore. I haven't been following or keeping up. That's what I got. I didn't even know the order came out until the other day. People mentioned it.
I mean, he was ordered way before, and they were going back into litigation to find out how much and exactly what was going on with how much. So it's interesting that he conveniently decided he wasn't going to do a follow-up, even though he said he was going to. Yeah, this is, like, clearly, like, the difference is vast. Like, let me move to a spot where he's got, we can see him a little better. Like, can we get, like, do we have a forward face? He doesn't really look at his camera. Is there, like, maybe one at the beginning? Sorry, some of these faces aren't great. Can we get, like, something... Bro, come on. That's fine. Like... God damn. Like, he even like, his voice even sounds, like, way worse. Like...
And that story doesn't seem to get the necessary traction. So it is morphed and changed and borrowed and grown. And what you find is this pile-on effect.
Not talking about Vic. Well, I've heard something about an order for Vic to pay, which he already had a judgment. So if you really want to talk about the order for Vic to pay, there you go. There's a judgment, and now he's ordered to pay. Not much. I don't know anything about the case anymore. I haven't been following or keeping up.
So, interestingly enough, in the order about, like, when they were discussing assets, because there was an order, or there was a petition that was put forward to get an assessment of Vic Mignogna's assets, the GoFundMe for this case was included in the finding of, like, the asset stuff.
That's what I got. I didn't even know the order came out until the other day. People mentioned it. And someone sent me something on Twitter. I haven't even seen the document. So I could talk about it, I guess, but I don't know anything about it. Maybe I'll look it up for tomorrow's show. I'm guessing it's just an order to pay with all of the updated fees from the appeals, is my guess. But I don't know.
It's a pretty good guess, and I think it would be kind of important to give, like, a conclusion to your audience, the end of a story, even if it didn't go your way, but I digress. I'm gonna end it there. He didn't know what he was talking about at the beginning. He didn't know what he was talking about at the end, and the entire time he literally admitted that he was grifting on purpose for money and built his channel off of that, and then dropped it as soon as it was inconvenient. And that he didn't even know what Vic was being accused of in the first place. Fucking wow. Fucking people went to war for this guy and his statements around Vic Mignogna. Are you embarrassed? I am earnestly asking Vic Mignogna fans, are you embarrassed by this? 'Cause you should be. It's not the end of the world, but Oh my fucking god. I cannot I have seen a good number of people. Munchkin, for example, what was that name's? Fatman DD1, I think his name was. What was that other guy? Oh, there was another guy. Fuck, I can't remember. Saying something or other. I've seen a bunch of these people be like, well, there's no evidence, and oh, Vic Mignogna is a good guy, and oh, Kick Vic and I Stand With Victor just as bad as the other. I challenge you to go find me somebody from, like, the Kick Vic group or side of this behaving like any of these fucking three guys. Show me one example of anybody who was supporting that, who was against Vic Mignogna in this, or like wasn't supporting Vic Mignogna, that behaved like any of these people. Especially if they have a comparative platform, because that didn't fucking happen. So, holy shit. It's so fucking bizarre. It's so toxic and caustic and like was just horrible. But this is the way it has ended for Nick Reiketa. There is no more shit from him on this. This is the best that he has. So, what the fuck? You think that Umbrella Guy or Yellow Flash are gonna be any better? No. Of course they're not. Have any of them done a proper update and a proper closure on just the facts of the matter? No, of course they haven't. The most recent Umbrella Guy video that I watched had him doing apologetics for Nick Reiketa getting fucking arrested, saying that the cops were the bad people in this scenario that were getting these kids out of this horrific situation. So, get fucked, I guess. We'll probably actually do that Umbrella Guy and Yellow Flash tomorrow, because I'm not convinced about reading more Project 2025. So we'll talk about Yellow Flash tomorrow, I think, instead of waiting a week and kind of get this wrapped up. I do want to watch the interview, I think, with Reiketa and Vic Mignogna in full, because I think, I suspect that's pretty fucked up. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll do that. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to watch Reiketa and Vic Mignogna do their thing. We'll do that tomorrow. See what that was about. See what they actually had to say. And then we'll do the Yellow Flash and then the Umbrella Guy, and we'll wrap all the rest of this up this week, so that way it'll basically be done. But yeah. You can tell from this last video that he isn't well. Yeah, he does not look good here. Jesus Christ. I gotta give my arm a break. It is healing slowly, but it's still tired. A little bit sore. All messed up. Alright. I'm getting out on a... Bye! Get me out! Get me out! You can't get worse than... What is he even accused of? Oh man, that's a really hard question. That's a really hard question to answer. Fucking Christ. Get me the hell out of here. Bye!
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard.